The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary Crime News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. It is October 13th, 2025. We're on episode number 884. And today, GAZA Trump. GAZA Trump. Simple. And my name is Gonz, at Face Like the Sun, director of the Age of Deceit films, your favorite agent and provocateur for Christ, live to tape from the metaverse to bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. I'm just noticing now that I have a problem with my X account at Face Like the Sun, and I'm not live there, I don't think. Great. Good to know that I'm not live there. Let's see. What went wrong? Oh, some stuff expired, of course. Got to pay the man. Got to pay Elon to continue to have a presence on X there. Okay, I'll try to take care of that while I'm doing the show solo today. Basil is out. He is traveling some kind of universe out there. You never know with Basil. You know, he's a time traveler. He could be going to the past. He could be right in the present somewhere or somewhere in the future. It's all one big mystery. But he'll be back. And in the meantime, I will be out on Wednesday as well. So the goal is to have the Burning Man episode, or at least parts of the Burning Man episode published, or a series, I guess, for 2025, published on Wednesday. And I've been reviewing all of the clips and the audio that Basil captured, and I have to say, great conversations as always with everybody in the camp of the unknown God and Carl Tykrib and the people that are there with the camp of the unknown God ministering to people. But something very special was captured on this particular trip, and that is a conversation with somebody at Burning Man doing all the things that you would expect of someone at Burning Man to be doing. And of course, it's the substances, right? This man was on some heavy-duty substances, and he was being basically preached to. The gospel was being shared with him, and he was close. I don't think the whole conversation was caught on audio, but I got enough to where I think it's compelling to share in the very least, and also gives an insight into why Basil and Carl and the crew are there in Black Rock Desert every year, collecting information, doing research, but also just simply being a light in a dark place like Burning Man. And but there's some great conversation and great context to everything going on there. If you'd like to see the backstory, or I guess the research, the mountain of research we have done on this topic, both from afar, but also more specifically and more unique to the Canary Cry podcast, boots on the ground at Burning Man, ministering to people, you can go to burningmanresearch.com, and it'll take you to a page that that's been updated, I believe. All the 2024 stuff is in there now, and you can go through all the years that we've been documenting these transformative events. And that is a title of something like Burning Man. It's labeled transformative events because the people who run them, they were attempting to create an experience that is transformative, spiritually, economically, physically, everything. And they knew that these events were meant for societal transformation, and they certainly have been the bedrock and the early signals. It's like getting in on, it's not as intense, obviously, as maybe like a Bohemian Grove, if you know about that, the giant owl in Northern California. Seems like some elite folks were meeting there, 150 years ago, good old boys club, planning what to do with the world and the new economic system that was emerging and all that kind of stuff. Who knows, doing sacrifices and of course, God only knows what. That type of event, but more secular in a sense, I suppose. It's public. It's open to anybody who wants to go. It is still ritualistic. Tons of rituals being done at an event like Burning Man. But also the lectures and talks that thought leaders and influencers lead in discussion, laying out the plan, what they have as an agenda for the rest of society. Those things were documented over the years. And in fact, I believe the hand of God actually changed some of those plans because of people like Carl and the crew of the Camp of the Unknown God being out in Black Rock Desert, just keeping tabs on what's going on. Like the two spies, they're in there, they're hearing things and they're bringing back a report. And some of the reporting changed perhaps the trajectory of certain, I would say, ministries, I suppose, that may have used some software or some things that were not of their best interest. And that's all part of the journey of documenting Burning Man at the Canarium here. So that's something to keep in mind. I'm going to try to get that done by Wednesday. I really hope I can. It's one of those creative decisions where I have to say, okay, I'm going to just do an episode with, this sort of experience with the man that was, I think there was the label on the file was like crazy man. Wait, what was it? I'm trying to find it so I don't say it wrong. But basically it was something to the effect of like man losing his mind on acid or something. It was just something very funny. And some very hilarious clips from it as well, because they were being preached at, this individual was definitely getting preached at. And I think the Antichrist spirit made itself appear in a sense because it made this individual incredibly uncomfortable. And that's something that is expected if you're preaching the gospel. And, it's part of the game, part of facing the enemy. We don't have to be afraid. And actually that leads me into the stuff I want to discuss today. And to preface it, I want to go into Matthew 24, of course, the very famous passage or chapter, I suppose, in the Gospels where Jesus outlines the end times. They ask him, what will be the sign of your coming? How will we know? All these things. And as part of it, starting in verse 4, it says, Jesus answered, see to it that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name claiming I am the Christ and will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. These things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, the kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. That's a very famous passage, and we've meandered around this passage for many years because, of course, it talks about the first thing Jesus says is don't be deceived. Don't be deceived. But also to trail that with many will come in my name. Some claiming that I am Christ. And that will deceive many people. But the greater sort of sentiment here with verse 6, 7, 8, talking about wars, rumors of wars, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, is don't worry too much. Don't stress. These are things that has to happen before the end comes. It's just the beginning of the birth pangs. So, there's no need to panic. And I feel that there's a fine line when dealing with current events and applying it to Scripture. Now, I can say that I am absolutely perhaps guilty of making associations where maybe there weren't any, or, the association was fairly weak or something like that. And, you can dig up all of the content I've published, run it through some AI and find out, how accurate or inaccurate or whatever I had been over the years. But I think the place that I've come to anyway, that I've tried to be very upfront with everything that we publish here on Canary Cry and beyond, is simply that, hey, you're not going to, we don't know the end. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. We don't know all the things. I mean, that's biblical. No one knows the day or the hour. But we should know the seasons, and we should at least arm ourselves with Scripture enough to see the parallels, perhaps the archetypes, because a lot of times, there's nothing new under the sun. Humans have been doing kind of the same thing for a long time. Of course, the technology is different. The access to certain things are different. And that's what makes our generation unique, is that the tools of communication, of building things, of developing ideas. All these different things are very different. The tools are different. But other than that, the human heart as a whole has not changed much. And so in terms of an archetype for Bible prophecy, it feels like certain things repeat in cycles. And there's that famous saying, history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. And so the circumstances and things may be different, but overall humans, the fallen human being doesn't really change a whole lot societally as a whole when looking at the bigger picture. And that's kind of why we need Jesus. We need Christ to step in to that gap and, provide the truth and guidance and ultimately the hope that's necessary to conduct ourselves in this fallen world. And so I want to just preface everything. And you know what? I'm going to go on a limb and say that if your favorite Bible prophecy teacher or favorite Bible prophecy expert or whoever, and I don't consider myself one of them, by the way. I know I've been talking about these things for a long time, but I consider myself like an armchair enthusiast for eschatology. I don't have any official degrees or anything. I love the scriptures. I love learning about them and talking about them. But if your favorite Bible prophecy expert is not at least prefacing their study with, hey, no one knows the day or hour, see to it that no one deceives you, do not be alarmed, don't lead with fear with all this stuff. I know a lot of people come to end time stuff through the funnel of fear. Whatever's going on in the world, it makes them uncomfortable and they want to have some kind of explanation for it. And boom, you find, Face Like the Sun or Canary Cry or the myriad of other content creators in our niche and genre talking about these things. And they say, oh my gosh, this guy gets it, or, that gal gets it. I'm going to hang by every word. And I think it's okay if that's where you're coming from. You're new to the stuff and you need that sort of draw into these topics, but you're not going to find a solution in that particular individual or influencer or Bible expert or whatever. Ultimately, it's God that's going to have to lead you to see the light in a sense. And, as long as you're coming into all these studies with that perspective, I think we're going to be okay. It's when we start saying like it's my way or the highway, or here's a date, or, these types of things that lean into our pride, I think that's where things can get dangerous. But yeah, if your favorite Bible prophecy expert is not at least leading an end time study with some presuppositions, then you might want to double check on where you're getting your information. And that's not an indictment on anybody in particular. I'm just, I want people to be safe, because see to it that no one deceives you. It's especially if you're coming from like a new agey type of place, it could be very easy to mix, hey, I know all this stuff is going on, with I am the Christ. I am also, I am the Christ, as long we are all Christ kind of thing. And that is untrue because clearly we as humanity, especially as individuals, we are fallen and we fall short of the glory of God. And so it is with that I would like to bring us into this very interesting Monday.
Gary, what day is it? Ow, Monday. What day is it? Ow, Monday.
So I'm going to start with a clip here from a concert or some kind of event that took place in Egypt. I believe it is at the GAZA pyramids. That's what we're seeing in the background here. A lot of people tagged me on X with it. A lot of commentary from big accounts saying things. And there's a lot there. There's a lot there symbolically. I'll play a little bit of it so you can hear the sights and, I guess hear the sounds. But if you're watching, you can see what's going on. I'll do my best to describe what's happening. What you're seeing here is somebody filming from the back of a crowd. It looks like a flat audience in terms of, it's not like a stadium or something. It's just a big field or something. The area in front of the pyramids, where you see the three pyramids in Giza behind the stage. Now, center stage is an individual with either a DJ desk or a keyboard or something. He's doing all the music. And on either side of him are bright pillars. Now there's two pillars. There's sort of a LED light type of pillar on each side, but they each connect to a larger pillar that's holding the speakers. And of course, right away you look at it and go, okay, we got the two column symbolism. If you're familiar with esoteric symbology, there's a lot of ways to, I guess, interpret it, or there's a lot of meaning behind it when it comes to esotericism or occultists. And the two pillars, you have Freemasons and other mystical religious folks reference it as the pillars of Boaz and Jachin, which, for Solomon's temple, there's a lot of biblical references there too. But also with Hermeticism and Kabbalah, you have the representation of duality or polarity. And that's where a lot of the, more esoteric translations of something like the two pillars comes from, is this idea that, hey, there's a left-right, there's a light and dark, there's a male-female, there's active-passive, there's this duality that happens. And at the center of the duality, in Kabbalah anyway, it's three pillars because there's two on either side that are the polar opposites. And then the center pillar is the divine light. It's the perfect balance. It's the cosmic structure that upholds creation, all this kind of stuff, right? That's what the esotericists and occultists believe. And so watching the sights and sounds here makes the imagery very fascinating. So here you go. You can hear the music a little bit. Boom. Every time there's a boom, the center pyramid in the back lights up. So that's kind of what people are seeing when the music crescendos in those booms. Another one. Boom. There it is. All the pyramids lighting up. Still there. Everyone's holding up their phones. Boom. Another one. Wait for it. Wait for it. Boom. And there you go. The capstone, folks, of the Pyramid of Egypt is lit up. And the wires between the smaller, let me get the audio down, sorry. The wires between the smaller pillars on either side of the stage with the larger pillars that are holding the speakers, there's some kind of lighting that's happening between them. It looks kind of like, some, internet connection type of thing. Wires, maybe some kind of digitization. But if we're talking about a gateway, and the moment that the capstone lights up on the Great Pyramid of Giza, that is, in terms of esoteric and occult symbology, that is quite intense. And that light, the way it's shining, it's expanding out. It's not like a beam. Normally with that kind of light, they've shown it in the past where it's a straight beam that goes up. This is actually spread out. So it's creating that inverted pyramid in the sky. So you have your as above, so below. You have your Freemasonic square and compass with the triangle and the two pillars. The whole thing. It's all there, all the symbology. But why? Why are they doing this now? What's the point? And we're going to come back to this clip, and we're going to go full circle here. I'm going to go through the last few days and what's transpired leading up to Trump signing the peace deal that we'll talk about in a second here, and how it might all connect. But here you go. We're going to talk a little bit about Trump and discuss this. Now, remember, our jingle for Trump is, "We will launch a new age." We will launch a new age. Okay, so Trump has been, we caught that when he said that and said, we need to hold on to that ISO because people are going to forget that Donald Trump stood, this is before he was elected, right? I think it was from either, maybe it was even a couple years ago. I don't know. It was a while ago where we got that ISO for that jingle. And we thought, really, Trump talking about a new age? That's very interesting because all the occultists wanted for centuries is a new order of the ages. It's straight up. Manly P. Hall, the secret destiny of America, saying that America is meant to be this new Atlantis. It was built to be the esoteric utopia. All these philosophies have been part of building up America, building up the West, the Industrial Revolution, we're led to believe in school history, all this stuff, that, it was this natural progression. We had these technological and scientific breakthroughs, and then we had these tools, and then, it got commercialized, distributed, and it changed and it was just this slow type of process. But you think about how fast and how far we've come in just the last century and we talk about this often. This is something that Rob Skiba talked about. Our whole community harps on this a lot, and I think the message is getting out there. I'm hearing people that have nothing to do with Canary Cry mention these things, which means they're recognizing these types of patterns. But we were horse and buggy for centuries. I mean, from the time of Jesus, we didn't have a whole lot of advancement in technology. That's 2,000 plus years, right? Well, close to 2,000 years, maybe a little less, 1,800 years or something. But then boom, 150 to 200 years leading up to today, we've had tremendous acceleration. Now I'm yelling into a microphone, looking at a screen, talking to hundreds of people all at once. This kind of technology did not exist before. So clearly something has changed. Something has progressed. And why? How? Is it just the evolution of technology and science at a natural rate? Or did we get help? Or are we simply returning to things that once were? And I believe that is more of the case. And I believe that specifically because in Scripture, in Matthew 24, if we're going back to Matthew 24 here, it explicitly states, as it were in the days of, this is Jesus talking, as it were in the days of Noah, so will it be at the coming of the Son of Man. And what was going on in the days of Noah? Well, Noah lived for 950 years. 600 of them was before the flood. 350 after the flood, which means that the Tower of Babel was being built. And we talk about the Tower of Babel. I believe a lot of what we're seeing today with technology is Tower of Babel stuff. I mean, the language barriers going down. The hubris of man to become gods is a palpable, well-funded mission in our world. And of course, there are other more obscure ways to relate to these types of things to today. One of them being, and I remember hearing this from Sharon Gilbert, Derek and Sharon Gilbert of PID Radio and View from the Bunker and Skywatch TV. Sharon had mentioned, and this is from Revelation 12, at the end of Revelation 12, there was a dragon that stood on the shore of the sea. And then in the next chapter, remember, there was no chapter break beforehand, right? You have the beast rising. And so what Sharon had pointed out years ago was that, being on the shore, sand, Silicon Valley. Like, she made the connection between the rising of this beast and perhaps the substance, the literal substance that may accelerate the rising of this beast that is described in Revelation 13, which ultimately leads to the man of sin, the son of perdition, its system, the 10 kings, the false prophet, all of those prophecies, all those moving parts emerging from the sea. And so, there's, again, the rabbit trail is deep, folks, but let me get back to Trump here. Because Trump just signed a peace deal, the GAZA peace plan, after securing freedom of the final 20 hostages. Now, I'm going to play this clip. It's about 2 minutes long. I'm going to play the whole thing. This is from Fox. I believe we may be one of the only shows. Maybe there's a couple shows, other shows out there who are doing it, but we made a big deal about the sound that Trump makes when he signs a document, the magical working of the Sharpie hitting the paper, hearing the scratches, and the hypnotic, sort of esoteric occult power that holds over the world. I mean, really, he's putting ink to paper, and it is changing the behavior of entire groups in the Middle East, or at least that's what we were being led to believe, if you will. So I'm going to play it. You're going to hear Trump signing things. You're going to hear him say a couple things. I will pause it because he makes a comment that is impossible to ignore as a Bible person. It's just impossible. There you go. You can hear it.
Okay.
Again, why is that mic so hot? What ASMR thing is this? This is crazy. Okay, by the way, I forgot to mention, this is in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. So the footage we saw of the pyramid and the whole thing, that was a couple days ago, I believe. And Trump just landed in Egypt today to do this signing. Again, we'll come full circle to coming back to this moment in today's episode, but I just wanted to mention that, and that's why I started with that Egypt clip of the capstone of the pyramid lighting up. Hey, here's Trump 2 days later.
This took 3,000 years to get to this point. Can you believe it? And it's going to hold up, too. It's going to hold up.
It took 3,000 years to get to this point. Now, listen, Trump is very good with words. He's very good at embellishing the moment, using his verbiage to make things appear more dramatic than they might be. And maybe that's what this is. One could argue, it's been 6,000 years since we got to this point where we're getting this jab in our bloodstream or whatever. There's ways to do this whole thing. But for Trump to say this, if there was one way a surefire way to trigger everybody, all the Christians out there who study Bible prophecy or have an interest in it, what can he say to trigger all of those people to either some kind of fervent support, like a deeper support for Trump, or just arms up in the air? Here's the Antichrist, the long-awaited Antichrist. Here's the peace deal that we've been talking about. The Daniel, what is it? Daniel 4 or Daniel 11? I got to look it up again. Daniel 9. That's what it was. The Daniel 9 peace treaty, which isn't exactly a peace treaty. You got to do a deep dive study on that. It was a reconvening of an old covenant. And so I don't think this is exactly what we were shown, I guess, eschatologically, according to Daniel 9. But I know that conversation is taking place. So, just to mention it. But for him to just say it like it took 3,000 years and here I am, I'm the guy it does resonate with a lot of Antichrist or more specifically, man of sin passages where he boasts and says he's greater than God. He's not saying he's greater than God. So it's a little less than what we were told this man of sin is going to say in terms of all this. But you had Charlie Kirk's memorial where, Charlie Kirk's wife is up there and forgiving the killer, the murderer, and Trump's up there saying, I can't do it. I hate my enemies, that kind of thing. It's sort of if you really think about that moment, it was sort of a slap in the face of God. It's like, okay, well, God is telling us to forgive, and Trump couldn't help himself but keep it political, but also in the process exude some, one could argue, Antichrist spirit type of talk at a memorial service of a young man. So there's ways to interpret all this, of course. But let me continue with this clip here, because I just thought it was very fascinating for him to say 3,000 years in the making, and here I am, making things happen, fulfilling some kind of prophecy. Or I don't know if he's being told all this. Like, I do wonder. We don't know who has his ear, of course. We know he has certain loyalties because of some bailouts. So, if you've done some of the studying of his economic situation in the past, we know he's beholden to some groups out there that may not have the best interest of Americans or Christians or all this type of stuff. So I'm very curious about who has his ear and who is telling him stuff like this, because he's not going to just pull this out of nowhere. Somebody hyped him up, like, hey, Mr. President, do you realize that this signing today is 3,000 years in the making, and he gets amped about it and he's up there, and then he repeats the line. So just something that stuck out to me.
To this point, can you believe it? And to get to this point.
Oh, sorry.
This took 3,000 years to get to this point. Can you believe it? And it's going to hold up, too. It's going to hold up.
It's going to hold up. Yeah, because most of these things fall apart rather quickly.
You can use my pen if you want. Have a pen? Want to use mine? Okay.
So there you go, the magical pen. You got to use the magic pen, dude. You can't use some random pen. You got to use the pen that the master magician just used for the spell to work. There's some more signing there. Boy, oh boy.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but I mean, there is a level of just clown world. I mean, what are we doing? What I mean, if there's ever been the evidence of like humanity needs Jesus, you know, like I'm having one of those moments right now looking at this. Like, you got all these men here, wealthy, well-off leaders of their given countries. They're in this very nice room, auditorium, whatever it might be, and you know they're deciding the fate of innocents. Countless innocents, however many. I don't know. And all it is just ear. I mean, it's just wild to think. I also wonder who told Hamas to go ahead and, you know, make this happen. Again, depending on how you view these things, these tensions in the Middle East, it might shape your perception of or your interpretation of something like this happening today. But around here, at least in the Canarium, you know, a lot of things are ops. It's almost like it's an op unless otherwise proven, you know. And also today is International Skeptics Day, by the way. My Canary Cry calendar tells me that is International Skeptics Day. So I think we are allowed to be hyper skeptical of things like this. And, you know, not, of course, on one hand, don't just say this is Bible prophecy fulfilled because we don't know for sure. Certainly it's biblical in proportion given the situation, the parties involved, the outcome of this type of thing. But is it a direct one-to-one prophecy fulfilled? I don't know. Doesn't really feel like it, but also kind of feels like it, you know, depending on how you come at it. But given the fact that Hamas is a creation of the West, a funded creation of the West, whoever is in charge or has authority over them told them, hey, it's time to go ahead and, you know, sign this peace deal. It's time to end the tension. The show is coming to an end. We need a little resolution. You know, those movies that are like 4 hours long, yeah, it just takes so long to get to the resolution, you know? And sometimes it's like you finally get there and you're so exhausted, you're just happy it's over. And that's kind of the feeling I'm getting here. It's like, all right, this whole thing, we've gone long enough. We got what we wanted with the real estate deal. We're going to rebuild Gaza. It's going to be beautiful, Mara Gaza, right? And everyone's going to be happy, and the Palestinians are going to be fully funded, and whatever the thing is. So very fascinating, all these elements here. Let me finish up the clip. There's about 20 seconds left here. Big sign, Peace 2025, right in the front there. Peace in the Middle East on the big banner behind them. All right, there we go. Okay. And just like that, folks, we have peace. Or do we? Or do we? I'm going to go backwards a little bit here. Actually, no, I'm going to wait till the end to do the Macron thing, just because it's fun. Okay, so here we are. We're at this point. The peace treaty is signed, or peace deal is signed with Gaza. Hostages are released. There's some, you know, heartwarming footage coming out of parents who had their children as hostages in Gaza be returned to them, and the whole deal. And of course, this is a good peace moment. It's all these things. But let's talk about what led up to today, and just going back a few days, because there was a lot of stuff that happened that I think people may not consider related necessarily, but I think it is. And it's your favorite topic, folks.
Is this a crypto? Crypto? Do I look like I know what a crypto is?
Okay, so on Friday, we saw the stock markets get wiped out. There was like $1.5 trillion wiped out from the traditional stock market, which was a big red candle day. And a lot of people were associating it with Donald J. Trump's post on Truth Social, which I won't read the whole thing here, but basically it says here that the United States of America will impose a tariff of 100% on China over and above any tariff that they are currently paying. Yeah, over and above any tariff that they're currently paying, so more than 100%. Also on November 1st, we will impose export controls on critical software. Software. We're in a soft war. So software becomes very important. So he said this, and of course, he used the T word. The T word is the magic word to move markets this year. And Trump used the word tariff back in April, and everybody sold. It was a big old dump. And same thing happened with the markets. There was a screenshot here. It says Trump just announced a massive increase in tariffs on China within 3 minutes. The S&P 500 wiped out $700 billion in market value. Look out below, folks. Woo! That is a red candle. Red candle. When I say red candle, for those of you just listening, a candle is a measurement of time shown on a chart in any kind of market. Usually a red candle, well, normally, always, unless you change the parameters, which you can. A red candle means that a price of whatever asset that you're measuring went down. So in this case, the S&P 500 went from 6,750 points down to, I can't go low enough to show it. It went really far down. $700 billion in market value wiped out. But anytime traditional markets get hit, guess who gets hit like crazy? Oh, yes. It is the crypto markets. The crypto markets saw the reddest of red. I mean, they're saying it was the biggest sell-off since COVID. And I think it was. I think during COVID in March 2020, there was like a 40 or 50% pullback. It was something similar, but because the entire market of crypto is so much bigger now, it's like 4 times bigger than it was back then. The effect is multiplied. It's exponentially multiplied. And so we saw a whole bunch of stuff just the whole market turn red and dump. And Bitcoin went down a little bit. Bitcoin was the safest. All the altcoins are the ones that suffered. But if you're looking at this chart, for those of you watching the screen, you see all the different cryptocurrencies. This is called the bubble map. A bubble map basically shows the bubble. Each bubble represents a different cryptocurrency. And they give you the time frame here during the day, how many coins are red, how many are green. Green means it went up, and it gives you the percentage. Red means it went down, and it gives you the percentage. And there's one here at the top of this particular image. It's WLFI, World Liberty Finance. It went down 25% that day. Hey, WorldCoin's up there too. Look at that. WorldCoin went down 22.6%. So World Liberty Finance went down more than WorldCoin. All these worlds. The worlds are colliding. Kingdom against kingdom. Blockchain against blockchain. So I bring it up because there's some interesting timing going on. And remember, I've been harping about how the blockchain world is transparent. Every transaction is on-chain. So you can kind of get an idea of what's happening. You may not know who's doing it, but you can see what's happening. For example, this person recognized one market maker moved $700 million to Binance, which is a big Chinese exchange, or they're associated with China, Asian exchange, before the crash. $200 million of that was in Bitcoin. If you noticed, Then as traditional markets bled, crypto started following, but something was off. The order books on Binance went hollow, no bids, no walls, just a free fall waiting to happen. And all of a sudden, Bitcoin went from $120,000 to like 105, 108. There was a big liquidation. The point being, somebody knew that Trump was going to make this tariff announcement because there was a big short position put in the crypto markets. It was like a $400 million short position, right? Like a brand new account right before Trump announced the tariffs. And so people are wondering what was going on. And maybe this China thing is also interesting because in the last couple of weeks, we've seen Binance, which is a Chinese exchange, skyrocket in value, become the third most valuable cryptocurrency in the world. And of course, because of that happening, we had a whole bunch of meme coins made. But then a few days ago, all the meme coins dumped. I mean, 90%. Just a bunch of nonsense, right? People should not be in there buying Binance meme coins, but people did, and everybody got wrecked. And so it feels like there is an economic war happening on chain already, and everyone freaked out. This was, again, Friday. The timing is too perfect. The markets were closing that day, right? They did it with enough time for the S&P 500 to go down, but then the crypto markets don't close on the weekends. They're 24/7. So the crypto markets went on huge dump. But guess what, folks? Guess what? Trump made it okay. He made it okay. He made all of it work. Of course, people were freaking out when this happened. The Guardian, China warns the U.S. of retaliation over Trump's 100% tariff threat. Beijing says it will act if U.S. president doesn't stand down. While investors brace for trade war turmoil. I mean, it looked like it's going to be bloody this week, folks. But then Trump came out, I believe it was either Saturday or Sunday over the weekend. He said on Truth Social, "Don't worry about China. It will all be fine. Highly respected President Xi just had a bad moment. He doesn't want depression for his country, and neither do I. The USA wants to help China, not hurt it. President DJT, Donald J. Trump." So he comes out with this a couple days later, and we have the markets are fine. The markets started to recover, right? But not before a whole bunch of big institutions, whatever, like big people with big money bought the dip. Okay, and this is what kind of the corruption, you can say, Trump is doing this as an economic war against China and doing it in a way that's sort of exposing the problem with blockchains and the whole new economic model, finding the loopholes. And because we are transitioning into this new system, there has to be kind of drama to drive people there. And I think they tried to do that, or they did do that with the meme coin earlier this year. Turned out it was a big old scam. And so, hey, we're just going to extract from everybody. Nobody has money left. So nobody invested in meme coins anymore. So, hey, what do we do? Well, let's really pump out leverage trading. Leverage trading, for those of you who don't know, is when you basically put in some crypto to bet on the price going up or down. But because you have leverage, you can make back more on certain moves. So it's kind of hard to explain, but basically it's bad because, if you just buy spot, it's called spot, where let's say I buy $100,000 Bitcoin at $100,000 and I'm good. I'm holding Bitcoin and I have a sell order at $110,000. Okay, there you go. I bought it at 100,000, sell it at 110,000. I made whatever that is, 10%, right? Is that 10%? I believe it's 10%. If I'm wrong about that, please correct me. But with leverage, you can go, okay, I have $100,000 worth of Bitcoin, but I'm going to leverage it 10x. So I'm going to be basically trading $1 million of Bitcoin. So when the price moves up, boom, you made more, like 10x more than you would make. But if it goes down, you're going to lose it all very quickly because you get liquidated if it moves against you. And that's what happened. A whole bunch of people started leverage trading, and there was already decentralized leverage exchanges, but now CZ, who is the founder of Binance, who did serve time in jail already, and is also, kind of highly sought. He's actually Canadian, I think. He was born in Canada. I think. I'm not 100% sure. But we'll get to CZ in a minute here. But basically, he published this new perpetual trading platform with Binance. It was called Aster. And he got everybody to leverage trade. And then all of a sudden, leverage trades got absolutely destroyed during that last crash on Friday. And there was a suicide. That's how bad it was. There was a man, I think he was, I forget what country he was in, maybe Sweden or something. I forget, some country that committed suicide because he lost all his money. And there are rumors that the money he was leverage trading was like mafia money. And so, he was just taking care of what was going to happen to him anyway. But leverage trading, it's all vaporware. It's not real. It's not real trading. It's not real owning of cryptocurrency. It's gambling, basically. It's high leveraged gambling. No one should be doing 50x, 100x leverage on trades. You're just asking to get completely wiped out if things go against you. And so one of the ways to protect yourself if you are a leverage trader is putting in stop losses. What that is basically it's the same. It's stop loss. You stop the bleeding. If the market moves against you, instead of losing it all, you set a price where if it goes to this price, please just sell and get out of the trade, right? To protect your money. Well, the crash happened so fast on Friday that those stop losses did not trigger for thousands of people. And people got wrecked. They lost a lot of money. Coinbase, Kraken, all these different places, their prices were all over the place. It was very difficult to buy. I tried to buy in that moment. I was like, hey, when stuff like that happens, you got to think different. You got to think this is an opportunity. We don't know what's going to happen. I'm not saying put in your life savings. I'm saying, hey, put in $10, $20 somewhere. It might turn into 40, 50, right? If you get it right. But it's very hard to be able to get a purchase through in those moments because a lot of people are thinking the same and the prices are moving so quickly that it's hard to nail down a price and get an order in, even on decentralized exchanges, especially on decentralized exchanges. But somebody made a ton of money when there was a coin called Atom, ATOM. It went from $2.40. It crashed to like a fraction of a penny for a split second, and somebody bought it, and boom, they made a whole bunch of money. And so there's all this stuff going on, all this hanky-panky going on. But point is, whoever put in this short right before Trump announced the tariff against China made a killing. And the timing is too perfect. Who is in Trump's ear like, okay, the short order's in. Mr. Trump, go ahead and publish the tweet. Click. 100% tariff on China. Wall Street finds out, starts selling everything. That creates a cascading effect. Cryptos crash. Everybody in crypto, I got to sell our crypto. But actually, that didn't happen. It wasn't actually people selling crypto in that regard. It was leverage traders getting wrecked. And when leverage trading goes down, it goes down quick, and the prices move down rapidly and violently. And so if you are newer to crypto, this is part of the feature of crypto is the volatility. And you experienced your first sort of huge dip in price. But again, we're recovering already because of Trump's, make good with G post. Now, meanwhile, we're getting other news related to Trump and crypto over the weekend. Cointelegraph reported Forbes declares Trump one of the largest Bitcoin holders in America with over $800 million in Bitcoin exposure. So clearly, Trump, orange man, orange coin, there's a little bit of a symbiosis there. And what I find very interesting is some of the social commentary going on with is this a economic war with China? Is this some kind of blockchain war happening with other groups? Because of what CZ of Binance posted on his social media on X here. He posted CZ, the ex-founder of Binance, the third or fourth biggest blockchain in the world, a man who went to jail for a few months for, I don't know if it was money laundering or something like that, or not cooperating with governments. So, he wasn't sharing information about his customers, that kind of thing. He said this: with 1.8 million followers, a quote investigative journalist couldn't get my nationality right. It's public info. A simple Google will do it. Or are they writing with motives? Guess who it's talking about? Laura Loomer, a show favorite of ours. And we've been documenting, kind of tracking Laura Loomer in her, I don't know, just sort of chaos, magic, wild claims. She's very verbose and sort of, I don't know, we've been tracking it, right? Well, she allegedly stated on a post, why would anyone think it's a good idea to give a pardon to CZ Binance? So that was part of the conversation. Are they going to pardon CZ? A Chinese national with Emirati citizenship. Why is there so much Islamic influence on the Trump administration? Who is pushing all this Islamic influence? You know who gets Emirati citizenship when blah, blah, blah. She goes on, right? Okay, so CZ is not a Chinese national. At least not that I know of. I believe he's Canadian, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, yes, he's Canadian and Emirati nationality. Born in China in 1977, so there's that. Immigrated to Canada with his family at age 12 in Vancouver, British Columbia. Acquired Canadian citizenship in 1992. 2022, he stated he had acquired Canadian citizenship approximately 30 years earlier. So there you go. He later became a citizen of the United Arab Emirates. So yes, he is making a lot of deals in the Middle East, which, again, this might be another situation where the tensions with the East and the West are tempered by somebody like CZ, because he's going into the Middle East and making deals, really helping with the future economic rails, the crypto layer for everything. And of course, the United States is also in there making contracts, conversations, whatever it may be, planning things out. So it is not, it's not a stretch to consider the possibility that all of this was coordinated between CZ, between Trump's people, his children likely, and timing it the weekend Trump's going into, he went to Israel, then he went to Egypt today with the peace treaty for Gaza. It's just a lot. It's a lot when the economic rails are changing, with geopolitical consequences happening between America and China, or Chinese representation, if you will, with CZ, because again, he's not Chinese, he's Chinese nationality, but he's not a Chinese national. So, a lot to uncover there, but I wanted to bring up the crypto angle of it because, again, whether you like it or not, it's going to be part of our economic experience moving forward. Here's some proof of that. This is on yahoo.com, and it's a StyleCaster article with the headline, Barron Trump's shocking net worth officially revealed as reports surface about his dad using him as a political pawn. Oh no, Trump using his son as a political pawn. As the youngest son of the current U.S. president, Barron Trump has an impressive net worth. Forbes revealed the 19-year-old NYU student's net worth amid resurfaced reports of tensions between Melania and Donald. Sure. I'm looking for the number here. Barron Trump's net worth is estimated to be around $150 million, according to Forbes. Much of it is thanks to his contribution to World Liberty Finance, a cryptocurrency company that he founded alongside his father and brother, Donald Jr. and Eric, before the 2024 election. Okay, so folks, I'm telling you, there is a coordinated, like everything is coordinated, right? I mean, that's not a surprise to anybody, but within like the cryptocurrency realm, it's like super obvious, kind of, that's the thing that really drives me nuts, is like, it's all on chain. You can like see it, but people still over speculate or under speculate on some of this stuff. But anyway, so here we go. World Liberty Finance. Now, this is also important because I believe, let me double check this actually. Let me make sure, because I did see some reports that World Liberty Finance would be used for Trump's stimulus. And if that's the case, I mean, that is, there were already rumors about, or not rumors, but language like stimulus being used for World Liberty Finance. But yeah, I'm not seeing open public reports about it yet. But there were some reports that the stimulus check that Trump's talking about, right, the $2,000 stimulus check for everybody, is going to be using World Liberty Finance's stablecoin, which is, I think, USD1. So if that is the case, okay, let's just picture a scenario not too long from now, like, I don't know, a couple months maybe. Trump says, $2,000, well, you got the tariffs, everyone gets $2,000, go ahead, go enjoy a nice meal, like whatever it is, right? But the first thing you have to do is open a wallet. Like, Trump is going to onboard a lot of people, all Americans, to open a wallet and basically give away your information. Your IP is going to be scooped up in that process, probably some identification, whatever it may be. But it's for a couple $1,000, you know? Hey, you can get a couple tanks of gas with that nowadays, you know? So I think that's maybe what's happening here. And the drop in price for all these cryptos, it's not an accident. It normally means somebody big wants to come in and hold a position in some crypto. I don't know which one. Maybe World Liberty Finance is that crypto, but they're not willing to come in at high prices. They're like, hey, I want to come in cheaper. Well, if you know how to control markets by posting social media like Trump does, what do you do? What do you do for your friends? You make the tweet, you make the post, you use the T word, the tariff word, you allow the markets to dump, to pull back, and that will give a nice entry for somebody big that wants to come in and hold a position on crypto. And right now, you know, this past bull run, we've been in a bull market for like 3 years in crypto. It's pretty much gone up for about 3 years. We've not had this like super parabolic straight up run. But it's been very boring for retail. Like last cycle in 2021, everyone's home, COVID, everyone's suddenly learning about crypto. Oh, we're all going to be rich. It's this whole different world. That all got destroyed, right? With FTX, Terra Luna, Celsius Network is where I got hurt really bad with my potential retirement fund basically getting wiped out. Thank you very much, Celsius Network, and so on. So that was very painful. Now, institutions are coming in, countries are coming in, big movers and shakers are coming in, but they don't want to make a splash. They don't want everybody knowing what they're buying or how they're positioning themselves. So they're going to do it quietly. They're going to do it in a way that is discouraging to retail, discouraging to your normal person out there. You know, hey, sell the dream. If you buy crypto, you're going to be rich forever. A bunch of people put in their money, and then guess what? Sorry, it didn't happen overnight, and people give up, right? So there's a lot of that type of stuff going on. And I believe all of this is setting up the economic rails for what's coming next, because most of whatever building or infrastructure gets built from here on out with buildings or, you know, whatever, they're going to have high levels of digital identification security systems going on, and it's going to require robust rails to facilitate that beyond just that location. How do you do that? Crypto helps. Crypto helps in having a global, quote unquote, globalized internet monetary rail. And it really truly does replace a lot of the monetary systems we have now. You know, it's very difficult to send somebody in Africa a big chunk of money because there's a lot of middlemen along the way that take a little bit out, a little fee here, a little fee there. They make their money, these institutions, these middlemen. But now with crypto, you don't need the middleman. You can just send that person some crypto that's worth value to them. So it's a whole different world that we're entering. And of course, I bring up Baron Trump because Baron is certainly part of his wealth, and likely his political career is going to very much be entangled in cryptocurrencies, and just how he maneuvers with that. It'll be interesting to watch how he continues to lead the way as the youngest Trump and the tallest Trump, I believe, too. It's like 6'8" or something. And also, reflecting the name of the story that was written 140 years ago, Baron Trump's excellent adventures into the deep underworld or something, whatever it was. The Ingersoll Lockwood fictional stories like The Last President and Baron Trump's adventure into Hollow Earth or whatever. So that's one son. There is another son to talk about here when it comes specifically to the peace deal, and that is Jared Kushner.
My generation is, hopefully with the advances in science, the first generation to live forever, or the last generation that's going to die.
Yeah, that guy, Jared Kushner, the guy who said we are either, because of the advancements in science and technology, we will either be the first generation to live forever or the last generation to die. I'm sorry. Excuse me, what? How are we not in biblical days when the wealthiest people in the world are looking at the technology and science in front of them going, hey, we don't have to die. We have defeated death. And talk about spitting in the face of Christ. He died for the sins of man, of all of us. He died for the sins of all of humanity. And what do? No thanks. Let me just go into the science lab and try to figure this out on my own. I mean, come on. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But that's Jared Kushner. This is New York Times. How Jared Kushner, a self-described deal guy, helped broker a Gaza breakthrough. Trained in New York City real estate, the president's son-in-law had a singular goal: get to a yes first and hash out the details later. Quote, it's just different being deal guys. Just a different sport, he says. Wow, okay. All right, a little bit of hubris there. My goodness. We don't have to read the whole thing. I'll read a little bit. Last Friday, when Jared Kushner heard that Hamas would begin talks to release Israeli hostages, he was fielding calls at his mansion, which sits on a man-made island just north of Miami. Must be nice. Man-made island, making calls, figuring out the fate of humanity. He jumped into his car and drove the 20 minutes to another mansion. All right, now he's mansion hopping. This one owned by the billionaire Steve Witkoff, President Trump's Middle East peace envoy. In those crucial moments, the Trump administration's diplomatic power center was not in Washington, but in one of the wealthiest enclaves in Florida. The two real estate developers charged with closing the deal on the prime piece of Mr. Trump's foreign policy ambitions got to work setting up a command center where they made and fielded calls from stakeholders, including an impatient president and cabinet members in the Israeli government. The stage had been set for a peace deal earlier that week when Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had agreed with Mr. Trump on a 20-point proposal for pursuing a peace agreement. With terms that largely favored Israel, it was still unknown whether Hamas would sign on and agree to release hostages or relinquish control of the enclave. As the deadline for Hamas to respond ticked closer. What deadline, by the way? Are these like arbitrary it's so crazy when you think about the art of the deal and the deal making. It's like you could just make these artificial deadlines and pressure the other side to make or come to a conclusion one way or another. My goodness. Mr. Trump warned Hamas fighters that thousands of them had already been killed and that many more would be if they did not agree to a deal. Hamas said hours later that it would begin talks to release hostages. While he was working alongside Mr. Witkoff in Miami, Mr. Kushner's advice to the Israelis was not to worry about the rest of the militant group's statement, which did little to assuage Israeli concerns that Hamas would refuse to give up its arms or political control of Gaza. Mr. Kushner was focused on the first part of the statement, which meant hostages could soon come home. And it goes on here. So that unleashed this whole trip for Trump going to Israel. This is Trump delivering remarks at Israel's Knesset in Jerusalem. And let me play that for you here.
After 2 harrowing years in darkness and captivity, 20 courageous hostages are returning to the glorious embrace of their families, and it is glorious. 28 more precious loved ones are coming home at last to rest in this sacred soil for all of time. And after so many years of unceasing war and endless danger, today the skies are calm, the guns are silent, the sirens are still, and the sun rises on a holy land that is finally at peace, a land and a region that will live, God willing, in peace for all eternity.
Okay. Once again, not saying Trump is the Antichrist, folks. That's never been our thing. We never tried to identify an individual man and say, hey, there he is. You know, the church, the believers have been burned too many times. But I'll tell you what, they're not making it easy for us armchair eschatologist, watchmen, you know, Bible-believing Christians out here. When Trump's standing in Jerusalem saying, it's a glorious day, there's peace in the land, and will be peace for all eternity. These are all things prophesied the Messiah is going to do. It is why the Jews of the days of Jesus, many of them, rejected Jesus as the Messiah because he did not bring victory to Israel, the nation, and to the region. He didn't have the geopolitical wits or force. He was killed. He was killed by the Romans. It's just wild to me. And again, I think Trump is sort of the perfect vehicle for this because he has been the guy of hyperbole. He's been the guy that exaggerates. He's been the troll who trolls. That's his whole thing. So that premise of him being a troll, of being off the cuff and a little bit edgy and all these things, that allows him to say stuff that at any other point, leading up to maybe the last 10 years or so, if a world leader accomplished what he did and says the things that he's saying, I mean, the Bible prophecy people's heads would spin. They would fall. I mean, I can't even. I would love to hear, and I don't know, maybe some of these Bible teachers have a different view on things, but I would love to hear certain Bible teachers and, Bible prophecy experts and authors and scholars from 20, 30, 40 years ago. I want to pluck them out of 1984, 1985, ironic 1984, maybe the 1970s, whatever, plop them into October 13th, 2025 and say, hey, what do you think? What do you think? Peace in the Middle East. This guy strikes a deal. He's bringing hostages home. It looks like a good deal, right? I mean, it looks like what people were expecting of an Antichrist type of figure. Now, again, a deeper study of Bible prophecy will reveal that this idea of a peace treaty is a little bit of a misnomer. It's a little bit of its own exaggeration. You go to Daniel 9, it talks about a covenant. It's a long, deep study. I'm not going to do it right now, but basically it restarts the sacrifices. And then he ends the sacrifices, right? And I know that there's a lot of people who think that some of the passages in Daniel 9 are talking about Jesus and not the man of sin. But I think that confusion is actually there on purpose because I think Jesus was the final sacrifice. It's the whole point. We don't need bloodshed anymore. He was the blood that was shed for all mankind, for all eternity, for the sins of the world. So yes, it's true in that way, but also in the context of the Antichrist, I believe he will present himself as something very similar, that he is sacrificing himself in some way for the greater advancement of mankind. And if you read into Revelation 13 in the image of the beast, the false prophet that points to this image that has breath, the mortal head wound of the first beast that lived, it starts to become very interesting. Oh, is that a resurrection scenario or a counterfeit resurrection scenario? Is the image not quite a true resurrection, but something like it, where you got an inanimate object all of a sudden having breath, demanding worship or be killed? So these are all, again, much more plausible in the trajectory of where we are in 2025 than maybe somebody looking at it in like 1975. Laura Ingraham posted the Israeli hostages and quoted Trump saying, "We will never abandon them. And with God's help, they will come safely home." And again, it all seems like very nice setup. Very nice setup to say those words at the beginning of his presidency, or maybe even before he was officially sworn in as president. And he follows through, because that's, if you're going to earn credibility in this world today, it really is simply say you're going to do something and then do it. And then you'll have a internet paper trail, and people will trust you more because of that internet paper trail. That's the world we're living in. But it gets weird, folks. It gets extra weird, okay? I have to admit, this was not on my bingo card, and it should have been. But according to leading report, breaking, Hillary Clinton praises President Trump for handling the Israel-Gaza peace deal. Quote, "I really commend President Trump and his administration." What? Hillary Rodham Clinton is praising President Donald Trump? When was CERN turned back on? It had to have been very recent. That is wild. That is absolutely wild, folks. I believe it was, I think Bill Clinton also came out and said something similar. Let me see if I can find the Bill Clinton one. Why are the Clintons all getting behind Trump all of a sudden? That makes me very uncomfortable. Let's see. Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton's still kicking it. He's still out there doing his thing. Maybe. I don't know. Here you go. 2 hours ago. Bill Clinton Bill Clinton says Trump and others deserve great credit for Israel-Hamas ceasefire. Okay, he's less excited about it. Deserves great credit is still, it's still big for Bill Clinton to say, but certainly not as big as Hillary, who said, "I really commend President Trump." Praised President Trump. So there you go. That's the world we're living in. Now, they did interview, and again, this stuff happens very quickly. Interview of an alleged hostage came out. There's a video of him, and he's talking about how people Hamas was afraid of Trump.
Yes.
Oh, where's the audio?
It's him. He got.
Can you guys hear that?
He got the hostages out. Before we felt like nothing is happening, and I remember for me ever since he came into the road, they were very scared of him. Yeah, they wanted
Who?
Terrorists.
We're afraid of Trump.
Yeah, they wanted Kamala to be chosen, to be elected.
You talked politics with them?
Yeah.
Why is the audio moving back right and left? I had this terrible audio engineering there. Yeah, Hillary Clinton.
I know we have still not shattered that highest and hardest glass ceiling, but someday someone will.
Yeah, okay, so back to this guy. He's talking about how they wanted Kamala to win because they're afraid of Trump. Again, just boosting the Trump image higher and higher as things get more and more interesting. And so here we are. I mean, this is where we're at now. The peace deal is signed. We are, Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton are saying good things about Trump. Hostages are released. Markets are recovering. I mean, it's golden age time. It's time for the golden age. The new age is here.
I want to shake
Oh my gosh. Wow, that was terrifying. What was that? I hit the wrong buttons. Sorry, folks. Sorry about that. I was trying to type the name Trump so I can pull up the jingle here, the one we just did. about the new age.
We will launch a new age.
And I also wanted to quote Biden, that Biden was right.
Armageddon's on the way.
He said Armageddon's coming, so, he's been pretty right about that. The Barron Trump jingle, because Barron is a multimillionaire.
A very tall son named Barron. Has anyone ever heard of him?
Yeah, he's taken over the world with his World Liberty Finance and, wallet that's going to be in every American's phone, providing liquidity for the people. So there you go. And let's bring it back full circle. So this is back to Egypt real quick, right? So he did the crypto thing, the markets tank. He goes back on it with Xi, with the post. Markets start to recover before Monday, before it opened. Did the markets open today? Or is it a holiday? I think the market's open today. I don't know. Some people were saying that it's like a bank holiday, so they're not going to open until tomorrow. But I mean, even more, if it was true that it opens tomorrow, then even more of a planned situation there, I would imagine. And then we have Trump going to Israel, speaking in Jerusalem, saying he's got this peace deal locked. Then he goes to Egypt, who just had a big old concert where the Pyramid of Giza, the capstone, lights up between the two pillars as the music, everyone's holding up their phones recording it. But when Trump arrived, this is what I skipped earlier. When Trump arrived in Egypt, one of the first things that happened was a handshake with other world leaders, because he's at this world leader summit type thing. And one of the hands he shook was Emmanuel Macron of France. And I'm trying to, where's my clip of him shaking his hand? Hold on. Did I not put it in here? Maybe I forgot to put the actual clip in there. Is this it? Oh, I think I have it here. Oh yeah, here it is. Here it is. Okay. Okay, hold on. All right, here's Trump. This is about a 20-second clip here. So they're doing their photo op. They're on the stage. Trump is shaking hands with Macron. The people are noticing something very interesting about this exchange.
A coat and tie. It's usually a flak jacket and a helmet. So an interesting change. As we see the president there with the French President Macron in Sharm el-Sheikh, the leaders of some 35 countries, according to the president, gathering there for a peace summit. Now, there is a bro shake. If ever I've slipped, we won't let go. Okay, you let go. No, I'm going to let go. All right, there we go.
Okay, so you can hear the guy on Fox here. Oh, there's a bro shake. That's a bro shake if I've ever seen one. Certainly, and this doesn't even show the whole thing. I think even before they went into the, because they were doing the normal handshake, hand over hand handshake, and then it went into kind of the thumb up one. I don't know what it's called, more like an arm wrestling type of position. And they held that for a little while. But before that, before this clip here, Trump was like tugging on his arm. Like he was really shaking his arm, like pulling him in. And to the point where people were pointing out Macron's hand as he pulled away from Trump. You can see Trump's hand mark on Macron's hand. I don't know. This might be a joke. It might just be a troll. But it just made me think like, oh no, here we have Trump making a peace deal in Israel, shaking hands with Macron, leaving a mark on Macron's right hand. Again, so I'm just having a little bit of fun, folks. I'm not saying that Trump's hand is handprint after a handshake is the mark of the beast, but it's just I had to say it, It's just had to point it out while we're talking about all these things. You have Macron's hand with the mark of Trump's hand all over it. And given the whole economic stuff, though, you never know. You never know where this is all headed. But there you go. That's a little bit of what's been going on with Trump over the weekend leading up to this peace deal. And I do want to spend a few minutes just covering a few scriptures. Not a whole lot. I just want to share some because it's easy to sort of dismiss all this as just mere politics. And certainly I am tired of politics. So you guys know that I don't like politics. I've never liked politics. I think it's a control mechanism. I think it is a way to socially engineer the population into certain behaviors. I think it's a psychological operation through and through. I think it utilizes both positive and negative sentiment to its own will. It exploits actually both people that have good or bad intentions for their own gain. That's what I don't like about politics, is that you can take something that's really good and wholesome and it could be exploited for the sake of political gain. Same thing with evil. Evil, or people with bad intentions, is actually great for political movement, for progression of political power or control, because, hey, they can look at the bad thing and say, hey, look at that bad thing. We don't want that bad thing. Put your trust in us. We're going to fix that bad thing. Or something good happens and look at that good thing. Look how we did this good thing. And so it creates this duality, which goes back to the two pillars idea in the esoteric sense of some of the mystical beliefs out there. And so just a few scriptures to highlight. And I don't necessarily have all these pulled up for the screen, but just for the sake of conversation, I think it's worthwhile here. So first up, we have Daniel 9, 26 and 27. This is about the prince to come. This is right after the covenant language there. The scriptures talks about how this prince to come will confirm a covenant with many, cause sacrifices to cease. And again, it is a famous passage that is looked at in the context of the quote-unquote Antichrist and how he behaves in the Middle East, what he does to bring about quote-unquote peace. And many believers have felt that some kind of peace deal in the Middle East is a big sign that we are in the end times. And certainly, I mean, you can't ignore the fact that this whole situation surrounds Jerusalem, surrounds Israel, and the whole thing. So just a passage to study if you're unfamiliar with that. But if you are going to look into Daniel 9, do look at it from the angle of the covenants, the Mosaic covenant specifically, as being reinstated and brought back as part of the covenant or the deal. And when this man of sin declares himself to be God, which in other parts of Scripture is referenced as the abomination of desolation event, some people think that this already happened with, what is it? Was it Nero? I forget who it was, with the pigs. I believe it was Nero. Chat, correct me if I'm wrong. So that some people believe that already happened. But again, I go back to maybe, but we didn't have like a true mark of the beast situation or anything like that. You didn't have an image that's talking and demanding worship. Those types of things had not happened. So again, could be an archetype, could be a could be a situation where it's sort of creating the pattern that was, right? Neuro might have been a blueprint or an archetype of what we will see, but it may not be the exact fulfillment. So there you go. Study Daniel 9 in that context. It's a great one if you're going to study about man of sin and Antichrist. But again, Antichrist in the Bible is a spirit, Antichrist spirit. It's not necessarily a person. It can be a person. It could be a false Christ or a false prophet. But it is referenced as a spirit. So keep that in mind. Micah 5 through 6. This man shall be our peace when the Assyrian invades our land. And some link the Assyrians with the whole situation going on in the Middle East and saying that, hey, whoever brokers peace with the Assyrians, they shall be the man of sin. Because he's bringing peace, and it'll be a false peace, right? John 5:43. This is Jesus talking to the Pharisees. This is an important one in my kind of understanding of eschatology and end times. John 5:43. I have come in my Father's name, and you do not receive me. Again, talking to the Pharisees and Sadducees. If another comes in his own name, you will receive him. Okay. Again, important because Jesus came in the name of the Father, and the leaders of of Israel at the time, the religious leaders who were the same as the political leaders, the Pharisees, did not accept Jesus as the Messiah, even though he came in the name of the Father. And Jesus points out in John 5 that another will come in his name, and you will receive him. Now, again, there's been a lot of study and interpretation, various interpretations on this, but if we're going to apply it to Trump, again, I'm not saying Trump is the Antichrist, but if we are applying it to Trump, dude likes the name Trump, okay? He really stands on his name Trump. And are the religious leaders of modern nation state Israel receiving Trump? Good question. I don't know. It could be that they're receiving Trump. It could be that, hey, they got a guy that can represent what they want to do because he's an American. He was in debt, and so here we go. We can control this guy. He can be kind of our puppet master, and we can make him kind of sound like the Antichrist for people who are Christians or whatever it might be. But it's fascinating to me because that's something we can look for specifically. Most people don't talk about John 5:43 in the context of the man of sin. But if you kind of think about it, the man of sin, especially if they're going to be doing sacrifices or ending sacrifices in the temple, probably has to, at the very least, have the acceptance by the religious leaders of Israel. And in today's world, those are the mystical leaders. Some of them named, some not, I'm sure. And people behind the scenes. Of course, when you think about Zionism as a political movement, a political party, you can't talk about it without at least referencing some of the religious beliefs that surrounded those geopolitical movements. And some of it even rooted in the Bible, which many people have come to terms with today. I think the Schofield stuff and the Left Behind series and a lot of the pre-trib rapture conversation grew out of that time period, late 1800s. And it's not to say that the pre-trib rapture idea was entirely invented in the last 200 years. One could argue that it was discussed by the early church fathers right after the ascension of Jesus and a couple centuries after that. But those things are debated in house and it's not super clear. What I do know is that the modern iteration, the modern nation state Israel, which it is pretty remarkable that this nation that did not exist physically, but only through a people group for thousands of years, survived, number one, and two, were brought back into the land as an official nation in the last 100 years, and also is causing all kinds of issues in the world. I mean, it's got to be, there's no other explanation. There's a biblical explanation here. And given the thesis that the Antichrist, man of sin, will reveal himself as the long-awaited Jewish Messiah, declaring himself to be God because he will look like he's fulfilling a lot of the millennium prophecies, the 1,000-year reign of Christ. A lot of Old Testament prophecies regarding the millennium are meant to be fulfilled by Christ, but what I believe is that the Antichrist will try to mimic those things. And so to that degree, how's Trump doing? He's doing okay, I guess. I don't know if he's the guy, but maybe Barron's the guy. They do have Barron in the pipeline, if you want to think about it in those terms. So there's another one, John 5:43. It's a good study to get into. I do have a few more listed in my show notes. Revelation 12:3, 4, and 9. Revelation 14, 9 through 11. Revelation 18, 23 through 24. I think many of you listening are familiar with those scriptures. If you're not, dig around the Canary Cry radio website. I guess our website's down. Canary Cry News Talk website. Go to the Face Like the Sun channel and look for some of those passages. And I'm sure I've done videos on them specifically or surrounding different topics that are relevant to those scriptures. But in short, Revelation 12 discusses the dragon, which is Satan, who empowers the beast. Very straightforward. And, if we're going to tie it back to Trump, Trump did talk about dragon energy quite a bit, right? I mean, that wasn't some like nightmare of mine, right? Trump did talk about dragon energy at some point, or was that just Kanye? Maybe it was just Kanye. I have the headline here from 2018. Kanye West proclaims his love for Trump. We are both dragon energy. Rapper tweets, he is my brother. So maybe that's what it was. Maybe Trump didn't specifically say like dragon energy, but there you go. You got the dragon reference there. Then let's see. Revelation 14. Those who worship the beast and receive his mark, they're tormented and tortured, of course. And this alludes back to the Antichrist, man of sin, what he does, and what the false prophet follows to do in deceiving the world. And of course, Revelation 18, the later verses there, talking about the sorcery of Babylon, deceiving the nations, closely tied to this whole thing. So very interesting. Now I'm going to add a couple different references here that are less known. And those are references in some Apocrypha, some books of the Apocrypha, or apocalyptic works and of the Apocrypha, like the book of Enoch. At least in the book of Enoch, chapter 97, 7 through 10, talks about the final week of apostasy where sinners, quote, shall acquire wealth and become great, yet will perish suddenly. Man, that is a stark warning. Again, this is not scripture. This is extra biblical text, so don't take it with the same kind of weight as scripture. But a very fascinating type of outlook or a line from the book of Enoch, First Enoch, talking about how in the end times the sinners will acquire wealth and become great, yet they will perish suddenly. Other apocalyptic works, you have the Apocalypse of Abraham, chapter 29, verses 4 through 8, talks about an idle shepherd of the last days who deceives many before the coming of the Lord. Sounds a lot like the man of sin. You have the Testament of Dan, chapter 5, verses 6 through 12, or 6 through 10, where it says, the devil will lead men into error, and they will serve false gods until the salvation of Israel comes. It's another reference to what appears to be a man of sin type of situation. And salvation for Israel is fascinating because what does that mean? What does that mean when it was written in the Testament of Dan? Does it mean the ethnic group? Does it mean the religious group? Does it mean the church? And no, the church did not replace Israel. That's not what I'm saying. I've been saying that true biblical Israel is the church. I've been saying that for years. Not that it replaced anything, that it is. So Ascension of Isaiah is another apocryphal book. And in chapter 4, it discusses Belial descending from the firmament to perform wonders and persecute the saints. And that is very much man of sin typology, but it's interesting. He descends from the firmament is how it's written in the Ascension of Isaiah. So, this is where the conversations about aliens and space and all that comes into the picture as potential mediums for facilitating these types of prophecies. But again, extra biblical text, not biblical, although you can find some references in the Word of God as well when it comes to this, because you got Obadiah. I always go to Obadiah because that's a good one. Obadiah, let me try to find it real quick. Basically saying that you will, this is talking to Edom. It's talking about the destruction of Edom. But here, let's see, verse 4, though you soar like the eagle and make your nest among the stars, even from there I will bring you down, declares the Lord. So this indicates that at some point, is this just, fancy poetic language? Yeah, maybe. And yeah, sure, probably. But again, nothing new under the sun. Something or somebody that is akin to Edom in the Old Testament is going to soar like the eagle and nest among the stars. whatever that means. Remember, nest among the stars. This is another sidetrack. I'm sorry. But in the New Testament, in some of these rapture references, it talks about the angels coming down and, basically harvesting the believers from one end of heaven to another. One end of heaven to another. And, some people thought about, maybe that's inside the firmament or whatever. But regardless, it's like, okay, even if you're nesting in the stars, the angels are going to come bring you down. You will be brought down. If not the angels, then Yahweh himself. So, fascinating study, rabbit hole, if you want to tie in all the stuff that we've been talking about, crypto, Middle East, Israel, peace deal, Gaza, with transhumanism, with Jared Kushner, living forever, the science, the technology, Silicon Valley, all these different things, and space now with, SpaceX. You got, it's all coming together, folks. It's all coming together. But I say all that not to spread fear, but maybe to light the light of Christ under somebody. Maybe somebody's listening and they are starting to feel the urgency of the times, just because so much of these things happening in the world are so, I was going to say biblical, but I thought maybe that's too literal, but it is. It's really biblical. There's really not a whole lot out there to help make sense of what's happening. If we didn't have the Word of God to outline kind of the events that have transpired in the last few years, I think me personally, I'd lose my mind. Like, I'd be absolutely losing my mind if I didn't have a greater context to all of this. And actually, I scroll through X and I see everybody responding, and I see who I can kind of tell who's got the Spirit of Christ and who doesn't, because the way they react and sort of and again, we're just reading text on a social media platform, so you can't make clear judgments, but you can sometimes read a sentiment of an event or a person or something like that, and you can tell, like, oh, this person, this is all they got. Like, this world is all they got. If you can't fight and defend this world right now and defeat the enemies now, it's over. It's over. It's over for the bloodline. It's over for everybody, right? Whereas from the more eternal perspective of being a follower of Christ, it's like, okay, these things are happening. We should not be alarmed. We were told it's going to happen. Jesus laid it out 2,000 years ago that these things are going to take place. What did he tell us to do? Look up, for your redemption draws near, right? I think it's the same passages where it talks about the gospel will spread to the whole world, and then the end will come. So are you participating in that distribution process? The world is getting smaller. What is it called? The 40-10 band or whatever. There's like a whole region in Africa, like the middle of Africa and the Middle East a little bit, where the gospel hasn't been spread out as much. I think we're starting to spread out more. And the church always grows under persecution. The church in China, for example, as far as I understand, I'm not there, I don't know, but as far as I understand from reports from people I trust and things of that nature, the church in China is the underground church is booming, but also they're getting persecuted in certain ways because they don't like what's happening. They are living, they're living out like the end times for reals. We look at all the stuff in the Middle East and we might get angry politically or geopolitically or hate on modern nation state Israel because, they're so corrupt, but whatever your thing is, but you're still able to say it on the internet. You're still able to have a platform and shout it into a microphone, even if no one's listening. In China, you say it, you're getting a knock on the door. You're getting rounded up. And it's not just China. There's other places in the world where this is happening. And it has been happening for centuries. So, for some people, for some nation states, it's already happening. This end time stuff is already unfolding. So we got to keep that in mind. And the thing that makes it interesting also with China particularly is because they are leveraging the technology and the science to do it. Much like we've been speculating here. Okay, been going for how long? How long have I been rattling off? For an hour 40. Oh my gosh. The last time I looked at the clock, it was an hour and 4 minutes, and now it's an hour 39. What is going on with time? What is wrong with time? So there's a lot more to study when it comes to all this stuff. Definitely study Antiochus. Oh, it wasn't Nero. It was Antiochus Epiphanes. He's the one that desecrated the temple. People are saying, Daniel 8 and 11 fulfilled by Antiochus Epiphanes. Maybe, but again, I say archetype. Another individual to study, which really is, some believe, the proto-Antichrist. Maybe the Antichrist himself. I know some people that thought it's literally the Antichrist himself. They're going to find this guy and he's going to resurrect, or they're going to take his DNA and shove it into somebody and they're going to resurrect or whatever, is Nimrod. Nimrod is the first post-flood kingdom builder, and he helped build the Tower of Babel, and he opposed God in the process. He was also a Gibborim. He became a Gibborim, a mighty man, a mighty warrior, and that is a word, Gibborim, mighty warrior, that is referenced in Genesis 6 in the context of the sons of God marrying the daughters of men, creating an offspring who are the Nephilim. They were the Gibborim, the mighty men who were of old, the men of renown. So how did Nimrod become a Gibborim? I don't know. I'm not sure, but he did post-flood, and he led the charge to build the tower and dethrone God. So it's a pretty good blueprint, if you will, of what we might see in the near future. And what I find most fascinating with the advent of AI and technology and science, and at the same time, the political tensions geopolitically, the Middle East, all these things flaring up, is that you don't have to be like a Bible thumper, basically, to see this and start to make some connections. And I think maybe that interview we talked about last episode on Tucker Carlson with, who was it? Colin Flynn, I believe. And, we were talking about how this guy basically summarized 15 years of Canary Cry Radio in like an hour interview with Tucker Carlson. Maybe the message is getting out there because, number one, it's very much what's happening, whether by design. Well, we know it's by God's sovereignty, but in terms of the human mind, by design or not, probably influenced by principalities and powers and evil cosmic forces in high places, carrying out the exact same thing they carried out during the days of the Tower of Babel and Nimrod and his pride, leading into his pride and his desire to be God. And again, what we're seeing is so similar, not just in all the stuff happening with Israel and the Middle East and all that and the peace and blah, 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 but the technology, the access to technology, the desires of the people in Silicon Valley to live forever, basically wanting to become gods themselves. It's all very palpable. And so you don't have to be a believer to see that, hey, the Bible actually talked about this. And maybe that's their entryway into learning about the Gospels, to learn about Jesus. And I think some of that is happening, but my concern has always been that, as it's not going to just be this pure moment, right, where there's no opposition or there's no obstacles for these views to become mainstreamed. The idea of the Nephilim was a crazy conversation 10 years ago. Now everybody knows who they are. A lot of Christians know about the Nephilim now. But we haven't had a true political moment with the Nephilim yet. And I don't know if that's going to happen per se. Maybe when that happens, it's like truly the fulfillment of all the prophecies, because we're really talking about like ancient biblical type of stuff. And some might argue we're already there. There was an article in 2004, 2003, actually, I think it was a BBC article that said, hey, we found the tomb of Gilgamesh. Some people believe Gilgamesh and Nimrod may be the same person. Gilgamesh being mythologized by the Sumerian culture, and of course the biblical narrative being preserved orally for generations and then written down later on. So yes, I'm aware of the timeline of things and when things were first written down and how the Sumerian culture did have some religious or cosmological text prior to the Bible being written. And also that the Bible references a lot of those written texts, because there wasn't a whole lot of written things before the Bible and before the Sumerian cuneiforms, right? So, of course, those stories are going to be referenced as part of the biblical either acknowledgement of the times, more often a polemic, meaning it's like a literary pushback against those narratives. And in that sense, man, we've been in fifth generation warfare for a long time. The narratives that shape the world, right? We're in that now, very much so. Everyone knows we're in that now because we're in the social media age and whatever, but it existed throughout time, at least our recorded history, and there's nothing new under the sun. It's the same thing. We just have different tools and different methods to communicate now, of course, but in terms of the substance of what's being communicated, not a whole lot different, especially under the hands of some centralized entities. They are very much, controlling the narrative for the mass population. So, all right, there you go. There's a little bit more of a rant there on all this stuff here. You know what I might do is I'm seeing a bunch of Doginal dogs in the chat. What are the Doginal dogs doing in here? Oh, man. Let me show you a couple things here that, I started with that video of the Pyramid of Giza. So for those of you listening, I'll describe what I'm looking at here, what I'm showing. There's a history of Freemasonry image that has the two pillars on the entrance, once again indicating the significance and importance of this idea of the two pillars being an entryway or the polarity that produces the divine balance in the middle. Kabbalah has a very similar structure with the Sephora and, the 10 spots. It ties into the, for New Agers and people that are into esoteric spirituality, the chakras on the human body and things of that nature. This idea of Kundalini comes from the same principle that you have these points in your body that you allow the serpent to rise into, let it go into the crown chakra, and then, hey, boom, you ascend into godhood, which if you're into that, you're into that. But let me just warn you, the Bible talks about a serpent that tried to convince mankind that they can become gods by eating from the fruit of the tree, right? So just keeping that in mind there for people that are into that kind of thing. Here's another picture of a Masonic temple, and clearly you see the two big pillars within the room, and then on the stage you can kind of tell there's a little podium that has what looks like the pyramid triangle. So this square and compass, but also directly tying into the third pillar, especially in Kabbalah, that third pillar is the divine. You have the two pillars of opposition, and then you have the divine. So I think I think all of it is, again, staged. Staged is not the right word. That triggers Basil. Planned, whether by man or not. I think it's both man who desire power, who are blinded by the pursuit of power in this world. They may come face to face with the devil himself. The devil might ask him to just kneel and worship, and he'll give you the kingdoms of the world. Same thing he did tempting Jesus in the desert. And so the enemy can do a lot playing on the pride of men. And maybe that's what this is. And all the occult things are aligning in that process. And so they can display what they had planned all along. And look, the capstone of the biggest pyramid, the Pyramid of Giza lighting up, there's another reference to this. And I started the Trump conversation with, the crypto stuff. And I bring it up not because of the crypto per se, but simply what is on the back of the dollar bill. We all know this. Annuit Coptus, the new order of the ages, the pyramid with the all-seeing eye, the illuminated eye on top, meaning the illumination of man. This has been the esoteric occult desire for the founders of America I'm sorry, folks. It wasn't, they didn't found America so they could have a Christian nation. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to rant about, by the way. And I might just do it now for a second, because I'm seeing a lot of conversations pick up again about Christian nationalism, especially after the Charlie Kirk assassination. And a lot of people are saying, like, yeah, ultimately, what do we want? If Christians are going to be in politics, don't we want a Christian nation? And I understand the appeal. I really do. And would I prefer a Christian nation, or what is perceived to be a Christian nation, over a non-Christian nation? Yeah, sure. Of course. But I know biblical history enough, and I'm not an expert, and I know I've read my Bible enough to know that when man thinks that they know what's best for their country or their nation or their people, and not what God thinks is best, it's not a good sign. Even when what they think is best is a biblical nation, a Christian nation. Because if you think about the Old Testament, all those Israelites, they still worshiped God. They still worshiped Yahweh as God. But they were like, hey, you know what? We want an earthly king. We need a king on earth to do that. And of course, this was foreshadowing Jesus. And even when Jesus came, it wasn't enough for them, right? It was not the way we were told the Messiah was going to fulfill the prophecies. And so we're going to reject him. So very similarly, the patterns repeat. There's nothing new under the sun. I've said it multiple times today, but it's so true. And it's these simple biblical principles ring so true with everything that's happening in the world today. And economically, the rails. And of course, spiritually, behind the economics, this idea of ascension, of becoming gods, believing that lie in the garden. They're just believing it all over. They are believing the wealthiest, most powerful people in the world who think they're going to defeat death with enough money, with enough whatever, science and technology. They are literally believing the very first lie that man believed, that Eve believed. Oh, I could be like God. I can know good and evil like God. I guess I'll eat the fruit. Looks good to the eye. Same exact thing, repeating all over again, in the 2020s, if you will. And I don't foresee it ending well in the long term, but again, we might have some breakthroughs along the way. And everything feels like an op at this point. But what do I even mean by that, right? There's a government level op. There's a shadow government level op. There is, beyond that, who knows, shadow group op. At a certain point, it becomes the spiritual op. Either the Antichrist spiritual op or the Holy Spirit op. And I think it's harder and harder. The higher you go on the pyramid, the more difficult it is to facilitate the Holy Spirit agenda. And that's maybe why Jesus demonstrated what he did during his first coming. He's like, look, I'm going to be the suffering servant. Because humanity doesn't get it. Humanity does not understand the power of God, of a true Messiah. How do I demonstrate that? It's not by sitting up there on a throne. I mean, he does have a throne. He does have an iron scepter. He will rule in that way. But not until mankind understands what they need. Not until maybe also the Sabbath. The Sabbath, which I think is a very fascinating conversation. It's not something I've done a deep dive on, but you think about, some people talk about the creation event and how we've been about 6,000 years since the creation event. As we enter the 7th millennium, is that the millennium? Is that the Sabbath? The 1,000-year reign of Christ? 1,000 years is to a day, for God, a day is like 1,000 years. Could it be that the final 1,000 years in that cycle is the reign of Christ? It's something to ponder. And it would make sense that leading up to it, the enemy knows his time is short. And so he will start becoming more bold. He will have a little concert in GAZA with the pyramids and light the capstone, letting everybody know it's time. It's time. It's time to ascend. When really all they're doing is rejecting the one that can actually save them. I hope you get something out of this episode, folks. I feel like I've just been rambling for 2 hours, and I know it's not that. Ultimately, I know there's people listening. I know there are new folks listening, maybe for the first time. I know there are friends listening, like, hey, my friend shared this podcast with me, and I'm listening to it. And if you made it 2 hours, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for sticking around and listening to this crazy Asian man rant about Bible stuff. I truly do love the exposition of the word and looking at world events and comparing it. And I do my best to make it in Bible study, not a declaration of figuring things out. Because I've seen the dangers of that. We all know the dangers of that. We all know the problem with date setting and saying somebody's the Antichrist and all this kind of stuff. Because and pointing back to the Antichrist conversation again, the Bible uses the word Antichrist in the New Testament in the letters of John, 1 John, 2 John, 3 John, I believe. Those are the books where the word Antichrist appears, and he's talking about it in terms of a spirit, the spirit of Antichrist. So when people say, oh, Obama's the Antichrist, well, he may not be the man of sin. He may not be the son of perdition, but he may have been projecting the spirit of Antichrist by, doing and saying what he did and all that kind of stuff. And same with Trump. Is Trump the Antichrist? Well, he may not be the little horn, right? But maybe the Antichrist spirit is doing its thing with Trump. And that's very unpopular to say if you're like a conservative or if you're MAGA, right? By the way, if you are MAGA, just look, we repeat stuff. I apologize to the people who have been with us for a long time, because I know that a lot of stuff we talk about is like, we don't come up with like anything brand new necessarily. We're kind of reiterating old points over and over again. But here's what I'll say about that. One, it gets repeated over and over again because they're foundational and they're coming from scripture. They're foundational to the show, but also just they're foundational in the word of God. And so if the word of God is something that transcends time and space, those things are always going to be true. And so when we speak these things, yes, it might be the same type of thing over and over again, but they are the true things that are being mentioned. And whatever context is going on in the world, they will remain true. And I think pointing back to the scriptures in that way is something that we do here. And I think we're Basil and I are very grateful to be a part of, because it would have been so easy to double down on Trump as Antichrist or whatever the thing is, like double down on a date, September 23rd, 2025, rapture date, right? Not that we were accustomed or pressured into doing it or anything like that, but it's easy to do that and get a lot of attention is what I'm saying. It's easy to grab attention by stating the outlandish type of stuff. When I go back to the MAGA thing, if you are not familiar with what the word MAGA means, all you got to do is go to the Church of Satan website, churchofsatan.com/hierarchy. Okay. And it talks about the different degrees. And it is very clearly stated right there on the Church of Satan website that MAGA is a 5th degree member. There it is. It's black and white. And they talk about how they're agents. Become an agent of the Satanic Church, folks. The high priest, the priesthood. And there it is. MAGA or Magus is in there. And I think, people are starting to recognize the idea of priesthoods in general being foundational to all human organization. It doesn't matter if you are part of the Orthodox Church or the Catholic Church or you're part of the Satanic Temple. There's a hierarchy, and you must abide by the hierarchy or else. And in that context. It's a reminder, okay? Because I'm not saying Trump is the man of sin or the Antichrist or Barron Trump is that or anything. I'm not saying any of that, but you just got to be aware of what's out there and what Trump, the MAGA stuff represents under the surface. Because I think most people are going to surface level. They're thinking country, they're thinking, I don't know, tax laws or some basic rights or immigration laws or all the stuff that is on top of mind for everybody. Dare I say superficial? I know they're not superficial, but dare I say superficial because there's so much more underneath that's going on that isn't so easy to decipher, isn't so easy to discern is like, hey, that's good, that's bad. It's more like, that's weird, right? Like MAGA being the highest level of the Church of Satan. Or Marina Abramovich saying that Trump is the greatest chaos magician that we've ever had. Or Hillary Clinton praising Trump for his dealings in the Middle East. Whatever it may be, Trump does seem like a chaos magician, by the way. I mean, talk about bringing chaos and trying to find some kind of order out of chaos in that context. We are living in fascinating times, and I think we are primed for all kinds of crazy stuff. It's only going to get crazier. My hope is that shows like ours are able to ground everybody in scripture when it comes to this stuff, encourage spending time in the word, encourage having conversations with people who disagree with you, and learning about all of these issues from the Bible. What does the Bible say about it? Because the Bible, I went into my journey into all this with a premise. And maybe I should have done this before I was baptized. I think the baptism and giving my life to Christ, it was like a personal thing in the personal trajectory of my life. And there's a lot of personal stuff going on there that led me in that direction. But in terms of going deeper and growing, my premise was, okay, if the Bible is truly the Word of God, then it should address everything. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's the bleeding edge of science. I don't care if it's aliens or Bigfoot or whatever, like the reptilians, whatever it may be. It doesn't matter. Whatever weirdest, strangest things are out there, the Bible should have something to say about it. Maybe not directly, but there should be something somewhere that we can draw from that helps us understand what's happening. And boy, oh boy, I never look back. The Bible is full of stuff. The Word of God is living. Man, think about the Bible surviving, right? All these generations. But then think about what the scribes wrote, when let's say, John or Matthew or whoever, they're writing things down in the gospel, and they're writing down what the Holy Spirit is leading them to write. And it has historic significance, obviously. It has theological significance, which has spiritual significance. But it also has eschatological significance. And things were written for the people in the immediate audience in the first century when it was written. And they can read it and go, oh, that makes sense. And then 200, 300 years later, as Christians are being persecuted, they can read some of the scriptures and say, oh, that makes sense. And then Christianity gets adopted into the state. It becomes the state religion for Rome. The world has changed. We have Christianized government, the biggest political power in the world. And there's references to such things, and it makes sense, both in the positive and negative sense. And here we are in 2025, quarter of the way into the century, the 21st century, folks. We're 25% into the 21st century. In 75 years, I was thinking about this. This is absolutely insane. To think that my children are probably, Lord willing, my children will see the year 2100. Oh, man. So crazy. So wild. But here we are, 2025. And the world has gotten weirder. More technology, more communication. It's definitely progressed. Knowledge has certainly increased, as it says in Daniel 2:43. People certainly do go to and fro much more than they used to. And just as I exemplified there, the word of God makes more sense today than maybe it did 200 years ago, at least eschatologically. I think theologically or cosmologically, they're very consistent, and throughout time, they're applicable. But here in 2025, when we're having these conversations about alien disclosure, UFOs, and government secrecy, and dark secret experiments in science, and different geopolitical tensions, and bioweapons, and genetic engineering, and quantum computers, and blockchains, and crypto, and new economic rails that might get stored in your DNA, all this wild, crazy stuff. And Jesus is like, as it were in the days of Noah. And, if Christians start paying attention to that, it's like, mind blown. Truth bomb. Exploding all over all this stuff. And we get to see it. We get to live through some of this. It's really actually quite exciting, folks. I wouldn't take it for granted. I think it's a crazy time, but also a blessed time to be alive. You know how many people that lived throughout church history would have loved to see all this happening? It's wild. Let's see. Night Owl Christian on X sent this to me. It is a Not the Bee post, which is the Babylon Bee's real news arm, I guess, because Babylon Bee is satire, but they have like a real news type of thing. And they posted this, Not the Bee, quote, "I'm not sure I'm going to be able to make it to heaven," end quote. "It hurts to hear President Trump's most recent thoughts about eternity." And yeah, it's from Not the Bee. Yeah, I think we heard this a couple days ago, a couple weeks ago, maybe. "I'm not sure I'm going to be able to make it to heaven." Yeah, I mean, yes, we know about Trump's faith. But it does make you wonder, what is he doing behind the scenes? What decisions is he being forced to make that would render an answer like this, where he gets asked about heaven or eternal life? A real believer, not a real believer, a true follower of Christ would say, I know, I have conviction. I know I am saved. Jesus, I acknowledge that Jesus lived a perfect life. He died on the cross sinless, but he took on my sin, and I'm covered. And look, maybe he will reject me. Maybe I will be in the afterlife, and I'll say, "Lord, Lord, didn't I do these things?" And he'll say, "I never knew you." That is a true possibility. It's very scary, but it's a true possibility for anybody. But you're supposed to have that hope that transcends all understanding. And Trump's not exuding that level of faith at the moment. "I'm sure I'm going to be able to. I'm not sure if I'll make it to heaven." Oh, why? Why, Trump? Why do you think you're not going to heaven? Yeah, we had to scab some crypto bros. Some people committed suicide. Whatever it is, right? I don't know what it might be, but it does make me wonder what caused Trump to answer in this way. Very interesting. We live in fascinating times. Do not waste it. Be intentional about your movement in this world. I think it's, I've been exploring in a Web3 community and learning some stuff and going outside my comfort zone when it comes to content and just different things. Learning about Web3, learning about more about crypto, and trying to find a community of people that sort of get it when it comes to this stuff. And it's not perfect, but there's a community of people who are in Web3 that are aware of what's happening more than I think your average Joe. I think if you're in crypto, you're sort of ahead of the game anyway, just because you've been looking at the biggest conspiracy perhaps of our generation. And it's not, I guess that could be argued. There are different layers to all the conspiracies, but one of the biggest ones being the economic system that we're born into. The biggest conspiracy we're born into perhaps is one of the biggest is the economic system, the fiat system, the post 1913 creature from Jekyll Island deal that was made by the bankers that created the Federal Reserve, that created this monetary system that extracts and creates a social divide of have and have-nots. And they provided some eras of prosperity or more distribution, but ultimately this is a sham, an absolute scam. The US dollar has gone down 10% in value on paper this year alone. And so, that's a true thing that we were born into, this terrible conspiracy that we're born into. But it's beyond us, right? It happened before we were born. It's, likely going to last in certain forms well after we pass. So there's not a whole lot we can do about it other than discuss it. And as the actual tangible infrastructure began to change, probably thanks to somebody in intelligence that created Bitcoin. But as it started to change, the narrative surrounding Bitcoin, brilliantly done, well done, 5th generation warfare, convincing everybody and myself. I was totally convinced of this at some point. Maybe not totally, but at least it's that old argument about lesser of two evils, where you start looking at the technology, looking at how it works. There's a level of transparency, but still maintaining some level of privacy. And you can see how, wow, this would be a lot better than what we got going on right now. But it's also this psyop where, they give you, a man offers you a pile of poop and a chocolate bar, and they say, which one do you want? They're both not good for you to ingest, but one is a little better to ingest, right? It's kind of what it is right now with everything, with politics, with money. So we are in that system. We have this false duality, right left paradigm. Everyone kind of talks about that now. But truly it is this duality that we are in that controls society, controls mankind for the most part. But, cryptocurrencies, looking at the economic reals, allowed people to shake out of a really strong or a real powerful stronghold, which was the fiat currency system. And I think that's why gold is going up, silver is going up, hard assets are going up. And perhaps we are in that transition phase into something new, something different. In fact, I think we definitely are. And some of us have positioned ourselves a little bit ahead of that transition. I think if you're in crypto, if you have been in crypto for the last few years, either investing or researching, hopefully not gambling. But I know some people are. A lot of people can't help themselves. They gamble and lose all their crypto doing that. But if you've been accumulating, you really did front run institutions, front run banks, and front run the big boys coming in. But they're going to come up with new ways, new tactics to try to get all that crypto out of the hands of regular people and into the hands of the controllers. Because it's better, guys. It's better for the world for Trump to hold, all the Bitcoin, or Michael Saylor and his company to hold all the Bitcoin. You don't want some Joe Schmo holding Bitcoin down the street. You want good, trusted sources like the Trumps. So that's the world we're living in. In that regard, there's nothing under the sun. Debt keeps rising. Although, hey, maybe inflation can outpace the debt, and while we owe like $100 trillion, in reality, we're only going to pay like 10 because they devalue the dollar so much or something. I don't know. There's a silver lining in there somewhere. But okay, I think I've gone long enough here. I'm going to start wrapping it up. Let me do this. I will do a quick scan of our PayPal to see if there are any producers that came in that are obvious for me to thank. If not, and if I miss you, just send us a note and I will make sure we properly thank you in a future episode, likely when Basil returns in a couple weeks. If that is the case, I don't know if he's going to have time to sit down and go over some of the producer stuff. But before we do, actually, before we thank producers for their monetary support, let me just go ahead and share a couple of, actually, hold on. I'm all scatterbrained now because I'm looking for two different things at once. I was going to share some art that came in to the show today or last couple days. Trying to do multiple things at once is very difficult. And I can see why people are going to start using AI avatars and AI agents to do like half the stuff they need to do that are tedious online. You know, boring stuff or tedious stuff. They can just let Robot Joe do it or something. So, okay, I'm seeing some people coming in with their producerships. Okay, let's thank some producers coming in. Let's thank some executive producers. We are value for value here on this podcast. Notice there was no advertising. There was a straight 2 hours of me rambling without being interrupted by commercials or ads or affiliate links or anything like that. And that's because we are value for value, which is this.
Value for value. We take no money from corporations, commies, or cartels.
There you go. That summarizes it. I don't have to rant on and on about it. You support the show. We are able to continue to publish content, do the research, deliver to you free content. And this would not exist without producers. And the executive producers are people who came in with $100 or more per episode. And today we have a couple to thank here. Let me just make sure there wasn't anyone I missed from prior. Ooh, okay. Looks like there was a couple that came in here. I don't know if all of these have notes. Okay, I might have to go back and thank people for, oh my goodness, coming in. Oh my goodness, there was wow, some big time supporters coming in. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm a little surprised at some of the support that came in over the weekend. Incredibly blessed. Is there a note with this? That's the thing. I don't want to dox anybody on accident, and I don't want to miss them either. This one. Okay. All right. So there's some for sure that I can thank right now, and there will be others to thank. These are, again, individuals who came in $100 or more per episode for episode 884. The first person I would like to thank is Felicia D. Felicia D comes in with a nice round number, which means she does not want that number read out loud. But we appreciate you, Alicia D. Thank you so much. You always come through. You always come through, and it's a really big deal for us. It's great to see you coming in and producing the show, supporting us in the ways you do every single time. We're so grateful for you. Thank you, Felicia D. Okay, who's next? We have Anonymous. Anonymous comes in. Oh, you know what? It was asking me to. Okay, this person did not want to be named, obviously, anonymous, but they did want to dedicate the first article to Jonathan F., or the top story to Jonathan F. I did not see this before we went live today, so my apologies. I will try to remember that for next time, and maybe send me an email or something, and that'll allow me to recall and make sure I do that for next episode. Anonymous came in with, wow, very generous. It is anonymous, but the number is very peculiar. 33377. Thank you very much, Anonymous. Appreciate you. Very generous. Okay. We also have another support here. I don't know what name they want to go by. I don't know if they want their amount not read because it's a whole number, but it is a big number, folks. It is a massive number, and it is, we feel very blessed. I want to make sure that I do this right. I may save thanking you to the next episode. You know who you are. First name starts with the A, and it was delivered on the 10th of December or October, so last Friday. And it's a big amount, so we appreciate you. Thank you so much. Let me just check. Actually, let me check if you did send an email, just in case, because that would make things easier. I apologize, folks, doing this kind of on the fly and doing this with you. I know it's not terribly exciting or necessarily appropriate for all the producers out there who are sitting there listening to me kind of rant and talk about all this kind of stuff here. Okay. All right. So it looks like this person. This is the different. Okay. I'm looking at the wrong one. Here we go. Apologies as I try to figure out who this person is and if they had emailed us about their support here. I don't see an email from them. Looks like they did email us back in September or something. Maybe not. Okay, well, let's do this. I think I'll be okay thanking them from their first name. So let's do that. Alicia. Thank you, Alicia, for your very generous gift and support of the show. I didn't see a note. Would love to read a note for you. I believe. Look, I'm a little stunned because not only is it a big amount, it's like an auto knighthood. And so I'm just curious if this person wants to be knighted. And if so, Alicia, let us know. Email us and we can properly do that for you. And maybe they're already a dame or a knight. Just let us know. Let us know. I would love to hear from you. And let us know because you're very generous. Thank you so much. Very kind. Very blessed over here, guys, folks. We're just a couple of podcasters. Seriously. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous if you think about it. We're screaming into microphones. But I think it's making a difference in people's lives. And we don't see all those differences that are being made. And it's meant to be that way, I think. I don't think we're supposed to see it. But we appreciate those who bring us value in the form of treasure, letting us know that it's making an impact. So thank you so much. Next up, we have Sir Jamie, not the Lannister. Thank you, Sir Jamie, for coming in with your weekly tithe. We take it very seriously. It's something that we are very grateful for the consistency and the trust you're putting in us to deliver news, if you will, or at least our sort of curated commentary on the news, because not everyone's opinions are heard, and we're just grateful that there's enough people out there that believe that the stuff we're saying and the stuff we're yelling about is making a difference, either in their lives or maybe their friends or family's lives. It's just a way to help people get up to speed on everything and hopefully do it, in a couple hours of an episode of a podcast instead of, 15 years of study or something. And of course, my hope is that this type of thing inspires others, that the Holy Spirit inspires others to do their own research and go deep dive on certain things, certain topics, and do their own research, do their own studies. And maybe they will be the ones that will be commenting on world events in the very near future with their own understanding or their own biblical interpretation of what's going on in their day, in their time. I often think about that, because now I have children that are 4 and 8. My stepdaughter's older, 24, but I wonder, when they're my age, when they're like in their 40s, what kind of passages are they going to be looking at to help make sense of the world? It's a really kind of a mind-boggling thing, but I do wonder that often, like our next generations that are coming, because clearly at a certain point, and mark my words, bookmark this, put it in the red book, maybe it's already in there, the Nephilim will become a political topic. Just straight up. I mean, it's already being seeded in the minds of the public with all of the, genetic stuff, the story about hybrids, and, there's just stuff out there already. It just hasn't become a front and center political issue, but rest assured it will. And in those days, what will happen? What will be the consequence of people standing up saying, no, the Bible's very clear about the Nephilim, what happened there in the Old Testament, all those giants, the giant tribes, all the genocide talk, right? One of the moments that I knew the Nephilim topic and the giants was important, foundational to understanding biblical prophecy, or not even biblical prophecy, but just literally the Bible, was when I was listening to an apologist, a very good Christian apologist, probably one of the best. And they were talking about genocide in the Old Testament. And I wanted them to talk about the Nephilim, because I was like, look, I know it leans into mythology, but it's such a perfect explanation for what's happening, a great way to root the topic, ground the topic, if you will, in the word. And they didn't do it. They didn't bring up the Nephilim in the context of Old Testament genocide, that God wants the Israelites to wipe out these nations, kill everybody, kill the children. Why? And of course, some people say it's hyperbole, it's war speech, and certainly it's probably that too. But why was God so vehement, so adamant about wiping out these tribes, these nations? You put it into the Nephilim context, it's like, of course. God created man in his image, and his image was corrupted. And the corrupted image should not exist. So there you go. You guys know the shtick. You guys know the deal. I don't need to repeat myself over and over again. Okay, moving on. There's a couple more people I would like to thank coming in under the amount of $100. We thank you if that's you. We appreciate you. Many people, it is people coming in with reoccurring support, monthly support. Thank you to all of you. You guys are fantastic, whether you're part of just a couple bucks every month, or if you're part of the supply drop, which the supply droppers, I think some of them are starting to get their shipment. So if you did, take some pictures, post it on social media, and tag us. If you're on X especially, tag my account, tag Basil, tag at Canary Cry Radio. Let us know what you got, show it off, and that'll be a good time. So yes, look for that if you are one of those folks who are in the supply drop. Okay, so other people that we need to thank here. Let's see. Let me make sure I got this one. First up, we have Marty K. Is this Sir Marty K? I don't know if this is Sir Marty K. I think it is. Sir Marty K coming in. Let me just get the name down real quick. And Sir Marty K came in with a note as well. He came in, let's see, with the amount of, okay, solid number. So we will not disclose the amount, but there was a note and it said, an extra gift just to say how truly grateful I am for you guys and our community. Best church ever. Well, thank you very much, Marty K. I think in-person church is still a little better, but I think hopefully the podcast is a way to do church, like do virtual church, and be informed, or at least draw some things, or do your own study, or be inspired to do your own study, so that you can be the light in your own church, in your own small groups, in your own Bible studies, in your local community, with your family, with your whatever you're doing locally in real life. You could be that light. You could be that that want to point to the truth of the gospel or the truth of some of these topics that we talk about that really helps tie together all the loose ends when it comes to certain narratives about scripture or just in general eschatology. And it's an opportunity. So, we appreciate that. Sir Marty K. Thank you. Thank you for the support. Next up, we have, this is, oh my goodness. Oh, Sir, it's whatever the American hobo is called now. I forget, I forget the name. I forget the night names. It hasn't burned into my skull yet. Let me pull up the round tables. Oh, Sir Cullen Anderson, Hobo of the Americas. Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming in with 2332. That is a Illuminatus status. Thank you very much. And the note just reads, the American Hobo, Jesus's cross emoji. Thank you very much. Okay, who else do we got? I'm doing this on the fly, folks, so bear with me as I try to trudge through this. Got some people coming in under. We got recurring support. We got Sir Casey coming in. We got more recurring. I think that's, if I missed anybody, just let me know and we'll make it right on the next episode there. But I think most people are coming in. I think we covered. But if you came in last Wednesday and I missed you, let me know. We'll thank you next Monday, probably, because I'm going to be out on Wednesday. You know, there's a chance that I decide to run some kind of live stream later in the week, maybe Thursday or Friday, just to kind of make up if anything big happens, especially while I'm out. Maybe I'll cover it later in the week, but we'll see. I don't want to make any promises because we've overpromised, under-delivered enough. We're going to under-promise, over-deliver. Don't expect anything. Don't expect anything, and then maybe we'll go live to surprise everybody. Okay. Last but not least, supporters coming in, supporting the show with your treasure. It is the one, the only, Cage Rattler Coffee. Go to CageRattlerCoffee.com.
Cage Rattler Coffee, where value for value never tasted so good.
That's right. Let me turn on my little lo-fi coffee music in the background.
Get a cup of Joe.
Yeah. There you go.
Protect you and the Constitution and democracy itself for generations to come. That is a good cup of Joe.
Yep, so there you go. One way you can support the show and get your daily fix of caffeine is go to CageRattlerCoffee.com. Pick yourself up some coffee. This is not something that we publish. It is a third party. It is a producer of the show who opened his own shop, branded the coffee with the Canary Cry branding, and called it Cage Rattler Coffee. And any purchase of coffee, a percentage goes to support the show. So it's this parallel economy, folks, the real parallel economy. We're doing it. It's not just conversation. It's not just philosophical. It's literal. And we are doing it. We're doing it. So if you want to support the show, get some coffee along the way, go to CageRattlerCoffee.com. You can get your, what are these? Emu Wrangler. You got your Nephilim Hunter Dark Roast. You got all kinds of stuff. Go there, check it out, browse, and hopefully you'll get your caffeine and support the show at the same time. It's fantastic. Thank you very much to Cage Rattler Coffee. Appreciate ya. And let's see. Oh, we got producers coming in under 777, which are streakers. We will save you guys. You're being tracked. Okay, we're tracking you. You're being surveilled. You're fine. We're tracking all of your progress there. So keep that in mind. Thank you very much to all of you. Okay, real quick, I got a couple pieces of art to share real quickly. I saw Jones come in with a piece of art, and I don't know how I feel about it because it's always weird to see yourself drawn. I'm trying to pull it up here. Give me one moment. Jones did a sketch, And it looks like it looks like one of those lineup drawings, like in the police station. You can't have like a real picture, but you can have like a hand sketched drawing of the criminals or the suspects. It's kind of what I'm feeling here. There's no note, by the way, from these. And I think Jolmes, he sent a few sort of mock-ups or the sketch version, like leading up to the real version here. But yeah, great. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Great. Appreciate it. We also had another piece come in. Let me try to get that. Make sure I got it. Okay. Yeah, I need to download it before I post it. And it is happening very slowly, but surely it is going to go down. Here we go. It is Sir Darren, Knight of the Hungry Pandas, coming in with a beautiful piece here. I'm going to read the note. It says, so I heard Gons has a new gig as a worship leader. This is true. I had to get a side gig, folks. I had to get a side gig to support my family. And who's going to hire me? Who's going to hire me? Who's going to hire the crazy guy? I'm not going to be in some office, talking Nephilim while trying to sell, car parts or something. Nothing against car parts. People that build cars, studs. Like Wheezy. Wheezy's a car builder, stud. Note from Sir Darren. So I heard Gons has a new gig as a worship leader. Naturally, that means I'll be transitioning from making art for CCNT to making cover art for his upcoming worship albums. Artists go where the spirit and the royalties lead. Also, Gons, please no scandals or compromising photos. Okay? If you know, you know. My professional reputation's on the line now, too. Thanks in advance. Well, Sir Darren, as far as I know, there are no compromising images. I have not been invited to any parties with some terrible things going on. I have not been asked to do certain things that will compromise me in the future. So I do not believe those photos exist. There may be one. I'll tell you a story. Folks. I was on the swim team. You know that. I grew up as a competitive swimmer. I qualified for Olympic trials at age 17 in the year 2000. I'm old, okay? And part of what I got to do as a quote-unquote fast swimmer as a kid, I got to travel a lot. And as a young person, I got to go compete in different parts of the country. I got to go to Hawaii and compete. Seattle, Washington, Arizona, Nevada, Northern California, like all of California, Texas, South Dakota, Alabama, Colorado. I mean, I've been to a whole bunch of states because of swimming. And I bring it up because you get a bunch of teenagers on trips like this, stuff's going to go down, folks. Pranks, all kinds of stuff. There was a guy a couple years older than me. His name was Steve. Thanks, Steve, for the memory. Now, Steve was a very smart guy. Steve scored perfect on the SATs. He was a very smart dude. But he had other screws loose in his head. And back in the day, folks, we didn't have smartphones. We didn't have the technology that allows us to kind of take a bunch of pictures, and just snap, picture, and then just have it in front of you, right? So a lot of what we did when we went on these trips, we would buy these Kodak disposable cameras. Do you guys remember those? They were either yellow or green. And we had these disposable cameras, and you just take a bunch of pictures. And at the end, when you get back from your trip, you'd have to take the camera to you can do it yourself if you knew how to do it with in a dark room. But you normally have to take it to a photography place, and they take the film and they make the pictures, and a week or two later you come back and you get your pictures. Well, there was a moment that I was in the shower. Okay, I must have been 15 or 16. And Steve thought it was funny to get his Kodak disposable camera, break into the bathroom, open the curtain, and snap a photo. And yes, I was in my birthday suit. Okay, it's all there. Now I didn't think much of it. I was get out of here, whatever. Some weeks go by. This is such a different world, folks. Today it's like delete that off your phone and then also delete it out of your trash can so it's not there. Back then it was like, well, we'll see what Steve caught on his camera. And a few weeks goes by. I walk into the building for swim practice. And back in the day, there was a cork board in the foyer when you walk in, and people are posting different stuff, photos or flyers or whatever. And there I am, a picture of me. Now, to Steve's credit, he cut the photo so it was not inappropriate, but he could not pass up my face. The sheer shock and horror on my face was too good to keep a secret. So he put it on the bulletin at the facility so that everybody walking into swim practice that day saw that photo and wondered what was that? What's going on? Turns out it was Steve's photo of me. So thank you, Steve, for that. So I bring it all up. I tell that story because, Sir Darren is worried about compromising photos. And if we're talking about that, yes, there somewhere out there might be a film or a photo of a compromising situation. But what's good about nowadays is if Steve is caught with that image, he goes to jail. Doesn't matter if he scored a perfect on his SATs. He's in possession of some compromising images of a minor, basically, right? So there you go. There you go. All right. And also, Sir Darren, prayers to your mother. We're going to call the producers.
Producers, assemble!
Sir Darren's mother is going through, I believe, some treatment for cancer. So we're going to keep her in our prayers. And man, it's tough. It's tough. As our beloved elders, their health declines. It's just part of the design of the fallen nature of man right now. They're going to go through things. And so lift up Sir Darren, lift up his mother, and be with them as they go through this. But there you go. That's Sir Darren's art. I didn't really even describe the art. It looks like vinyl covers, like throwback vinyl covers. One of them says, "Do not be anxious," and the XI is underlined, which only means that this is a secret covert message to Xi Jinping, the leader of China, Gan's loyalty to Xi Jinping China. And then it says Matthew 6:25, and it's got a picture of a palm tree. I believe that is my picture of a palm tree that I posted on social media. And then there's another photo of love. Not a photo, but a cover of an album. Love each other as I have loved you, John 16:12. I believe it's another photo that I posted on social media of my children, backs turned to the camera, but walking on a walkway. And then another one, sing to the Lord, Isaiah 12:6. I actually, Sir Darren, to be honest with you, if I do make a worship album or worship singles or something like that, these are, this is it right here. This is the style of cover that I want to have. It's awesome. The branding is spot on. Thank you very much. I'm going to use it. This is inspiring me to do a real album just because I have all the art done already. And at the bottom, 2025 Gonz Face Like the Sun Records under exclusive license to Gonzo Shimura. The copyright in this sound recording and artwork is owned by Gonz Face Like the Sun Records. And on it goes. I appreciate that, Sir Darren. Thank you so much. It's so cool. I did go listen to Forrest Frank. If you don't know who Forrest Frank is, I believe he's a millennial. Is he a millennial or Gen Z? He might be Gen Z. No, he's 30, so he's got to be a millennial. Or no, I'm sorry. Yeah, millennial. I don't know. He's young. He's young. He's a young Christian artist, musician. If I played one of the songs for you, I would get a copyright strike, and you would say, "Oh yeah, that song." He just published a new song. Let me try to find the name of that song. Jesus is coming back soon. That's the name of the song. Jesus is coming back soon. I gotta admit, not only was I impressed with like the songs and theologically and the lyrics and stuff, because it's all about how would you act or how would they act if they knew Jesus was coming back soon. But the way the melodies and everything, very well done. Very well done. Gave me goosebumps, gave me chills. That doesn't always happen when I listen to Christian music. So there you go. Go check out Jesus is Coming Back Soon by Forrest Frank, because it's a good song. Good, solid song. Good for the younger generation who are needing some truth out there. You know, I'm not going to get in the way of Forrest Frank just trying to make music. You know, I'm sure, you know, he's huge, so you never know. But yeah, it's just something I ran into recently. So there you go. Thank you, Sir Darren. Appreciate you as always. And I think that's it for the art. If I missed you, send an email. We'll try to get to you either next episode or the one after. What else do we have? Okay, maybe just thanking some other people. We're almost out of time here. So thank you to all of the producers of your go to canarycry.art if you want to submit art. There's a portal there for you. Click here to upload art and we will share it. It helps us build the culture behind the community here in the Canarium. So thank you very much to all the artists out there, past, present, and future. We appreciate you. It really does help out. It really, it's cool. I love it. It's a way to help produce the show without treasure. And another way to produce the show without treasure is with your time, like the time stampers.
Timestamp, it's hard work. Timestamp.
And I am a little sad to see that nobody timestamped the last episode. Episode 883, but that's okay. That's okay. Jade Bouncerson, Morgan E., I know you guys are busy people, and so we appreciate any time you can get in there and do the timestamps. And even if you can't, we still want to thank you, because we appreciate you willing to step forward and doing it whenever you can. So thank you to that. Thank you to Jam. Thank you to Clank. Everybody else who's involved. Did I miss anybody? I probably did. I always miss somebody. Appreciate all of you. We will be back again Wednesday. I'm going to do my best to have the Burning Man, a Burning Man episode out by then. It might not be everything. See, the problem is I have interviews with like 5 or 6 different people, and I'm tempted to create like the mega episode, the 5-hour, here's Basil walking in. Here's Basil talking to this person. Here's Basil looking for Carl. Oh, here's Carl's conversation. Here's another conversation with Audrey. Here's Audrey's conversation or the thing that she was talking about in real life because we captured it on. I want to do this big production, but that's going to take a really, really long time. And I'm almost wondering if it's better to drip out 2 or 3 episodes and pick a solid theme around each one. And do it that way, especially because this first one that I want to do in that context, it's so good. It's such great audio, because it will affirm the skeptics being like, all it is people on drugs out there. Yeah, there's people on drugs out there for sure, documented. But also, how do you interact in that situation? How do you interact with the gospel? How do you share the gospel to someone tripping on acid at Burning Man? You'll have to wait and see. I don't know if that's the biggest teaser ever for a Canary Cry Radio episode, but that's what's coming, folks. I'm telling you, it's one of the best moments. There's a couple ISOs I sent Basil. I have to bleep it out before I share it with everybody. But it's just, I just could not help it. I was laughing so hard because it was hilarious. MSDS in the chat there, the interviews, I have a pile of interviews that Basil captured at Burning Man from people within the Camp of the Unknown God, and also conversations that took place at a Bible study. What I can gather, and I don't have visuals, I'm just listening to the audio that Basil left me. Carl was doing a Bible study. Somebody came in, asked about what they're doing. The gospel was shared to them. They shared their current state of mind, which is not sober. And they had an interaction, And they prayed for this individual once they left. And then another individual came and asked about the name of the camp of the unknown God. What is it about? Carl gives a great explanation. I mean, so it's just this great audio of, it just transports you right into the tent at Burning Man of what kind of stuff was going on. And you you get to be a fly on the wall, or at least I am, listening to the whole thing. I'm going to edit things down so it's not, you're not sitting through all the crackling and some of the shuffling around. If somebody's opening a bar or something, you can hear all the crinkling of the, so there's stuff that I'll edit out. But in general, it's this opportunity to really get a sense of what it's like to minister boots on the ground at Burning Man. So that's what you can look forward to with the next episode of Canary Cry Radio that hopefully will be out on Wednesday. I will be out. I'll be on a little side quest on Wednesday. If you know, you know. I believe some people know and they're not telling me. I think there's going to be people at this thing that I'm going to that they're not telling me that they're going to be there, but they're going to be there. So anyway, that aside, and if you're wondering what I'm talking about there, I know I'm being very cryptic, but that's for a reason. It has to do with a weird pixelated picture of a dog. That aside, share the show, folks. The word of mouth is still the best way for the podcast to spread. And so, share the show, don't share the show. Share with friends, family, somebody. And maybe a friend. And, I know that there are younger people listening, in particular, a couple of younger people that I know through the grapevine are finding the show, listening to the show and stuff. And if that's you listening, I appreciate you. Thank you for listening. And thank you for encouraging your parents to listen to it and stuff like that. It's very cool. And, but it's good to know because it does provide a level of responsibility on our end. Not that we would abuse it or try to do something out of pocket on purpose to, create controversy or something like that. That's not what we do around here. But, the ability to share the show with friends, family, that is a little bit outside the box thinking, right? Outside of the cage. That's the motto here. Think outside the cage. It's because most content is kept in the cage. Even those things that seem to be outside the realm of what is normal conversation or normal topics, you still might be in the cage, or at the best on the cage. But we're just hoping people think outside of the cage, which is where we find true freedom, which is where we find God and his sovereignty over everything. And we can kneel and bow to God and say, hey, it's all you. This is all about you. This is not about me. This is not about Basil. It's not about any of us. It's about God. And we get to participate in that story, as little or as much as we would want to be involved in it. But it's this ability to share something like the show as, I'll say it, it's kind of like a Trojan horse for the word. We're not out here saying that we got it all figured out, but we are saying go study the Bible. That'll help you out. And so if the podcast is what leads people to study the word, if the YouTube channel is what gets people to crack open their Bibles, then great. That's why we're here. That's why I believe God has blessed us as long as we have without taking us out completely, is for those reasons, to provide as a resource, a platform for people who are curious, who are people who are seeking answers in the context of all this weird stuff that's going on in the world. So there you go. All right. I think I'm done. This is almost 3 hours now of me ranting. I guess it's okay. I'll be gone for a week, but appreciate all of you sticking around. God bless you. I love you guys all. I'll play some music on the way out, and let's see. Oh, I'm supposed to tell you that you're supposed to grab people by the cage and shake them. Is that what it is? What's
the end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
Ask Noah. Yeah, ask Noah, because, you know, as it were in the days of Noah. Why does Ultron want us to ask Noah? It's like the producers of those Marvel films know about Genesis 6. MSDS in the chat here. Gons, it would be a good idea for you and Basil to put out like a 5 or 10 gospel songs together. It would be a real uplift for the body of Christ right now. Not a bad idea. Basil and I have performed live. So we've played music live before. Mind Chats. When did you get your channel back? I've been listening to you guys for like 10 years now. I got my channel back on my birthday, ironically enough, January 22nd, 2025. But I didn't do anything with it until the last couple months here. So yeah, that's how that went down. Ironic, now everyone's getting their YouTube channels back. In fact, Trump is getting paid $25 million by YouTube. So, you know, hey, I wish I can get 1% of that. 1% of what Trump got back would be great. But that's okay. We're not doing this for cash. All right, everybody. Thank you. Appreciate you. Love you. Until next time, think outside the cage.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
This is the United States of America, for God's sake. Armageddon's on the way.
For God alone, my soul waits in silence. From him comes my salvation. He alone is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress, and I shall not be shaken. How long will all of you attack a man to batter him? Like a leaning wall, they only plan to thrust him down from his high position. They take pleasure in falsehood. They bless with their mouths, but in their heart they curse. For God alone, O my soul, wait in silence. All hope is from him. He alone is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress, and I shall not be shaken. Trust in him at all times. Pour out your heart before him. God is a refuge for all of us. Those of low estate are but a breath. Those of high estate are a delusion. If they are weighed on the scales, they are altogether lighter than a vapor. Put no trust in extortion. Set no vain hopes on robbery. If riches increase, set not your heart on them, For God alone, O my soul, wait in silence. All hope is from him. He alone is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress, and I shall not be shaken. God has spoken once, but I hear this in repetition, that power belongs to God, and to you, Lord, belongs steadfast love. For you will repay men according to their works. For God alone, O my soul, wait in silence. All hope is from him. He alone is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress, and I shall not be shaken, be shaken, be shaken, be shaken, be shaken,
Praise ye the Lord. Praise ye the Lord. From the heavens, praise him in the heights. Praise ye him, all his angels. Praise ye him, all his hosts. Praise ye him, sun and moon. Praise him, all ye stars of light. Praise him, ye heavens of heavens, and ye waters that be above the heavens. Let them praise the name of the Lord, for he commanded, and they were created.
I want to shake things up, shake things up. I want to shake things up, shake things up. Leave the bird alone. I want to stir up some controversy. I want to rattle a few cages. I want to rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I get I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Little guy. Little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati. He's a Satanist from one of the Satanist churches here where they sacrifice babies.
Value for value. We take no money from corporations, commies, or cartels.
Canary cry.